I'd like to have a Chris energy. Where do I get a Chris energy?
I don't think you Thursday morning, all you beautiful radio listeners. You will not recognize my voice as Dirt or Sprague. I would hope Luke Anderson filling in alongside the producer and now co-host. You've been promoted. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Jordan Schultz. Jordan!
Merry Christmas, brother. Merry Christmas.
Is it Schultzy? Are we skipping the... Have we decided on this? I've heard rumblings. Is it just Schultzy now?
Sprague decided to, he told, this was his idea, and I went along with it, that I should rebrand. The whole idea was that there is another member of the national media, very successful out there, named Jordan Schultz. I am not him. He's the son of Howard Schultz. Very, very nepotism there. Like a lot of help from the Starbucks empire there.
Don't be mad at nepotism. This is one thing that people grumble about. If you have kids and you can help them out in any way, would you?
If you want,
would you?
Yes, but
okay.
let me ask you a question in response to that. If you wanted to be a sports radio host and there was a man out there on ESPN every other day named Luke Anderson, how would you feel?
What do you mean? I'd feel perfectly fine about it.
I doubt that.
No, because here, okay, Luke is a very common name.
It's so short.
At one point, I think I was I had a job. There were 6 Lukes.
Oh, God.
Anderson, 2 different spellings in the top 50 most popular last names. I am an Anderson, E-N, which is very commonly misspelled as O-N. Anderson, S-O-N, is one of the top 10, maybe 15 last names. And yes, Anderson, S-E-N, is still top, 50. So when I was naming my kids, I had to go through and be like, all right, how many people have... And then at some point, I was like, you know what? Doesn't matter. Don't have to worry about it. So I have a very common name. There are plenty of Luke Andersons. Yes, there is not one that is uber famous in the same realm that I'm in.
If I lived in Germany, then Schultz would be a very common name. It's apparently, I've been told it's like one of the very common German names, almost like Smith or Wilson or Anderson, one of those top 10, 20 names you hear all the time. But we're in America, damn it. And apparently there's this dude that has my name, so I am Schultzy.
Yes,
and
but
nobody cares.
But you're cracking on nepotism. What's a kid's name on the football Night in America? Jack.
Yeah, Jack Collinsworth. Yeah, he's
so, clear,
not that great at play-by-play yet.
Well, no, but he's not doing play-by-play.
They tried him earlier this season. It was not great.
I understand that, but there are plenty of not great people that have worked their way up through the thing. But you know what? He's charmed enough people to stay on the air, and he's probably because of his dad that he has the opportunity. Joe Buck, another guy that is in the position that he's in.
Well,
because
Joe Buck is actually really talented.
Well, I understand that.
Compare him to Jack Collinsworth.
Here's the thing: how do we get good at things? How did you get good at singing and talking and doing what you do so well, young man?
I mean, I don't even think I'm a great talker yet. Probably a better singer than talker, if I'm being completely honest. But
then we'll sing more in the show later.
I go with the cowherd line of thinking, where it's 10,000 hours.
That's not Colin Cowherd. That's Malcolm Gladwell.
It is, but is Malcolm Gladwell alive, spouting that every day? No.
Yes, he literally wrote the book on it.
No, I'm saying the most that you hear it is from Colin Cowherd.
No, the most that you hear it is from Colin Cowherd, because you listen to Cowherd every day. When was the last time you listened to Malcolm Gladwell, who has a podcast? I'm not mad at you for that, but let's credit the people where credit is due.
I apologize.
So he literally wrote the book on it. But this is where the nepotism comes in. Is if Chris Collinsworth, and I don't know any of this to be true, I'm just going off the top of my head using the example we have in front of us. If he has 10 sons and gives them all the opportunity, Jack is the one that gloms onto it. What he is going to get more of is opportunity. But he's also going to get the opportunity not just to be on air. Do you think Football Night in America has a better support staff than we have here at 1080 The Fan?
I'm sure their intern, like the unpaid staff that they've got roaming with coffees and little pastries, is bigger than our 1080 The Fan staff.
Sure. And then does he get to work with, no offense to anyone here, does he get to work with the cream of the crop when it comes to other talent that he's working with?
I believe NBC Sports. So what's left of it is based out of like either New York or one of the other Chicago, one of the other big.
But he's on air with Tony Dungy.
That's what
he throws it to Tony Dungy and Rodney Harrison every day.
He's
so
around greatness.
He's so he has a great support staff. He's got great producers. He's got somebody in his ear, and he has a national spotlight. So the criticism that he gets and the bashing on his his would be episodic rise.
Yeah,
is that what you would call it? But his rise to prominence through nepotism, he probably gets more crap than we do, as well as more support, as well as better people to work with, as well as all of this. So getting those 10,000 hours on NBC's Football Night in America versus, I mean, no offense, but you're working with me right now.
Hell yeah.
Filling in on a weekend. Is this making you better? Debatable.
Yes, debatable. Better.
But let's put you.
Yeah. I wonder where Jack Collinsworth ever had to cut his teeth on a local sports radio station. That might. I think you kind of just made my point. His rise is on NBC Sports and on calling college football games, on doing Football Night in America coverage. It's like,
but if he showed,
we all don't get that. But most of us don't.
100% totally agree with that. Again, you're Chris Collinsworth. You go, hey, we got a spot. My son, he's pretty good at what he's doing. Here's his tape from college that I paid for, or technically you paid for us to send him to all of the best schools to get all the best diction training and all of the things that he needs. So he already has an advantage, and then he gets another advantage. He gets all of those things. But here's the thing: if he shows up on the sideline and says that we're having the time of our lives and is terrible, he's getting fired. No matter who his dad is. If he shows up and he's wiping the coke off of his nose and he's got his women of ill repute with him as he walks into the thing and goes, you know who my dad is? Every time he walks in, he's probably getting fired. So it only gets you so far. Joe Buck is very talented. Joe Buck did get a lot of advantages growing up that gave him the opportunities that made him who he is, that put him in the position
the Buck
that he's
family just has announcing in their veins, man.
Like but you still have to. Joe Buck loves what he does. Do you remember the start of the pandemic when Joe Buck was
he was calling cats fighting on Twitter. He was like, send me your animal videos, send me your siblings in the heat of battle videos. I will commentate. It was great.
So it's there's this combination of things that is required. There may be other Buck children out there that are not Joe, that are not doing what they're doing.
Gonna get a third generation Buck announcer.
But maybe not. But there is this certain passion for it. So I've started the show by defending nepotism. So I don't know how you put me in this spot. I had a very important topic that I wanted to get to, Mr. Schultz.
Well, let's
get Schultzy.
We got time. We got time, baby. We don't have to get out for like another 4 or 5 minutes.
No, I'm confident of that. But here's what I need to do. I need to get all of my Vancouver commuters, and we'll probably have to revisit this during the show. But the Vancouver Ford text line is the perfect sponsor on the text line for this. Driving in the last 2 days over the I-5 bridge at Delta Park and before. So basically right when I hit the bridge this morning. I noticed it yesterday, and I thought I was losing my mind. It smells like cream corn.
Really?
I have no idea why. I couldn't tell you what it is, if one of the homeless camps has ripened to the point where they just smell of cream corn now. If somebody is making batches for Christmas or for the holidays. I don't know what it is, but Interstate 5, between the start of the bridge on the Washington side to roughly the end of Delta Park. And today I drove in early, so no traffic. Yesterday I was sitting in traffic going, what is that smell and where is it coming from? Today I think I was able to isolate it. From the start of the I-5 bridge in Washington till the end of Delta Park, the whole thing smells like cream corn. So if you go 503 TOGO fan, to go fan, that's a text line. It's very simple. Send me if you're smelling the cream corn, because I could be losing my mind. And then if you have any idea where it's coming from, these are things that I need to know.
I'm trying to think of where it could be coming from. I mean, there's downtown Vancouver there as you pass over and get on, to the Washington side.
Very true. You've got the beautiful Vancouver waterfront is what you're referring to. There's a lot of new construction down there.
Restaurants galore.
Is cream corn a favorite of the construction workers? You show up early. Now, this morning, I drove in just before 5. So I'm driving in the wee hours. It was there. Yesterday I drove in, I don't know, closer to 8. Still there. So I'm gonna have to drive home. I don't know if it's there on the commute home. I don't remember it yesterday. May have taken 205. Can't recall. But I need people to either validate this claim. You can call me insane, or if you're brewing up a big batch of cream corn, why?
Wonder what Portland cream corn tastes like.
Portland, like specifically Portland.
Yeah,
cream
like
corn?
because Portland is known for its unique take on foods and flavors. We got some great restaurants here. Obviously, the Vancouver waterfront is the same way. There's a great Mexican place up there I love to go to with my wife. So I'm kind of wondering,
what's your Mexican place?
No, they got to pay for that, dude. You're a salesman.
No, shut up.
No,
just you can give them free shouts. I just want to know what it is personally.
No, I'll have to go and look.
Oh, you can't remember?
No, because I've been there twice.
Okay.
I've been there twice.
Is it the one in downtown?
Yes.
Little
my wife and I have gone to Vancouver the last 2 times we've been there.
Little Conejo?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like tacos. Walk up, order your tacos, then take your table. Right in downtown next to Esther's Short Park.
Yeah, that's a good one. There's also a little bit nicer one as well. A little highfalutin. A little more expensive, a little spendy. But
are you talking Dos Salas right on the water?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, Dos Salas is insane.
They are so good.
That place is like Vegas. It's well, first of all, the prices match it too.
They are like
but
Vegas.
that place is absolutely wild when you go in there because it is always packed.
Yeah.
And the food is, the drinks are certainly over the top. Like they do like the little glass cover on your smoked old fashioned or whatever it is.
Fancy.
So they bring it out there and take off the little glass topper and all the smoke plumes out. That place is bananas.
I'm glad you remember the name because I got a gift card.
I'm a Vancouverite. If I can't remember the names of these places to send people in the right thing, and you did say like we don't put these names out there for free. Listen, right now we are information for these fine people that are listening. If they need to know this information to go and make their lives better. So if you want a good taco at an affordable price, Little Conejo, right there. Yeah. I can't remember the streets that it's on, but it's right around the corner from the Smoke and Oak, which is great. Or go down to the waterfront if you want to overspend. But
good date place too. Happy hour is awesome.
Yeah. Well, it's again, if you want that kind of Vegas meets Vancouver vibe, that's about the best.
Meets Vancouver.
Yes, Vegas meets Vancouver meets Mexico. That's what it is, right?
You need slot machines in the front of this place. You really do.
I mean, if it was connected to A, would you be surprised?
No, A has some good fare as well.
Yeah,
there's some good food. You go up there, have some drinks, gamble. It is like Vegas.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know if I'll go that far, but it's
the closest I've got, baby. It's Spirit Mountain or it's A, babe. It's all I've got compared to like what am I gonna go all the way down to Seven Feathers, where the closest resort with like a spa and like I can't go that far.
I mean, if it's me, okay. So this is where I've gotten to the most enthralling. I don't go to casinos anyways. I little divulge a little secret here. Mm-hmm. I have never been to A. It's been open 7 years.
Ooh, I'm a degenerate, man.
I lived in Vegas long enough that gambling does not appeal to me the way it once did. It just doesn't have a draw on me.
The lights don't have the effect on you.
No, it does not. It does not. But I'll tell you what did have the draw on me. My wife, my brother, and my sister-in-law and I all went to Napa, and we stayed in American Canyon. I don't know if you know the area very well.
Not really.
There was a little California card room, which was right next to our hotel, and it definitely drew us in. So it's just blackjack tables, let it ride, pie gow, whatever.
Of course, yeah.
So we went in there to play blackjack, and just picture, I don't know, this studio.
Yep.
The width of this studio, maybe times 3. This long room, and the blackjack tables just smashed up against each other where you can barely get in and out of the seats, full on fluorescent lights in there, and people just going in and I don't want to say degenerate, because probably all of them were not. But
Well, I am a degenerate,
97% of them were just there because they just got their paycheck and they need a new pair of shoes. But we went in there. Oh man, I couldn't have
more than entertainment is what you're saying. That they're using the gambling as maybe forming an investment, which is the exact opposite of what you should do.
The people watching in one of those rooms is just fantastic. If I were to go to, if I had the itch and I were to go to the center, I would go up and I would take a right and see what's left of the new Phoenix and the Frontier and whatever is in downtown.
That's still around?
I don't know. I haven't been up there. Like I said, I don't have the draw. But even when I lived in Vegas, do you remember? You remember Vegas Vacation?
Of course.
Do you know the Klondike Casino? Are you familiar with the Klondike?
I've heard of the name. It's got to be one of the cheaper downtown casinos. Right?
No, it's not. Okay. So remember in Vegas Vacation when he goes and plays pick a hand and does all that, and they walk by the big neon cascade of lights where it just says casino, but it's at like eye level, like it's a one-story building, and the whole front of it was just a giant light sign that said casino on it. They used the exterior of the Klondike Casino for that shot because it was this tiny little rundown. And it was actually just south of the Welcome to Vegas sign. So when you're coming in from LA, you would drive by it. So it's basically a motel with a casino attached to it. It is no longer there. They have demolished it long since.
Good.
That was my favorite spot to go and gamble. You could play 10-cent roulette. You could play dollar blackjack, and you could see across the room. You could see every cocktail waitress and bartender in there. So if you needed a drink, you could go and just raise your hand and just be like, over here. There's like 8 tables. It was fantastic because you always got treated. But here was my move when I was in Vegas. Is you go and you start cheap, get drunk, and then go do whatever you're gonna do. But get your baseline. Don't buy $14, $18, $25 drinks to get your baseline going. No. Don't lose all your money up front. If you got $1,000 you want to gamble, if you got $100 you want to gamble, I still say go to bingo to start. You get 2 drinks. You can buy a $4 card. It takes 30 to 45 minutes, and you can win the jackpot, right? So you go in there, and they'll give you 2 at some places. Gold Coast used to do this. They'll give you 4 drinks for free. What? You sit down, for nothing. So you sit there, you get your juices going, kind of get everything going. Then you go find the cheapest card table you can, and then just get warmed up, and then spend whatever you're going to spend. You want to spend $50 on a hand? You want to spend $100? I don't care. But was always the way to do it. Let's get a baseline. Let's get our Vegas on. My favorite, and we'll get out on this, but my favorite Vegas set of voicemails. So I was a bartender down there, right off the strip, at a fun family restaurant that had a lot of mob ties. So we had my brother and my sister-in-law fly in, and I get off work and I have 3 voicemails from my brother. Hey, it's Frank. We just landed. We're going to head over to the Klondike and we'll see you when you get off work. Second one, hey, we're over here at the Klondike. We're having a great time. And just when you get off. Third voicemail, hey, we just got thrown out of the Klondike and we're walking over Mandalay Bay. See you when you get off. And then we went to bingo.
Such a Vegas story.
Yeah, it's a lot. There's a part 2 to that that's just as good, but.
I don't know if my friend falling asleep on the Hard Rock Casino bar is better than that or not.
That happens all the time. My sister fell asleep on her 21st birthday, fell asleep in a set of automatic doors that just constantly shut on her head. I was closing out the bar tab. I walk out of this was at the New Frontier Casino. We were at Gillies, where they had the mechanical bull, where she did not have the best performance that you've ever seen. She's sitting there with all of her friends. They're all drunk, and she is laying down in the automatic doors in the first set, not the one that goes outside, but the one that goes into the little airlock there. And they're just constantly just shutting on her head. So falling asleep. We can do the whole show on stupid just Vegas stories that I was a part of. All right. So Vancouver Ford text line. Somebody says, so basically Margarita Factory about Dos Alas, actually owned by the same people. Did you know that? There's a fun fact for you. Yeah, that is their
tasty as well.
Yeah, Margarita Factory on steroids is what Dos Alas is. We have a fun show. I'll be entirely honest with you, not 100% sure where we're going, how we're getting there, what we're doing, but we're going to talk about sports. We're probably going to talk about Christmas. Schultze will sing at some point because I will coax him into it because it's the holidays. And then I've got a beef with the open to the show. Did you put that together? or was that given to you?
No, that I put that together. So
Okay, then we'll need to talk about that too. So
you did not like the clips that I put down.
No. I just have a question.
Okay,
we have a follow up to that, to the show open. But I do want to start with, I watched a lot of basketball last night. So I want to just talk a little quick NBA stuff. So that is where we start things. This is a show called Dirt and Sprague. There's no dirt, there is no Sprague. And you're listening to a station called 1080 The Fan.
Christmas.
All right, welcome back in. Luke Anderson filling in for Dirt and Sprague, filling in for Swag. We got Schultze back there. This is one of 4 shows that I'll be filling in. Swag and I will be taking the back half of next week, Wednesday through Friday.
Thank God.
I will be in tomorrow, no show. We will do a regular Sinner and Saint on Saturday.
Ooh.
And then you'll have Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. I don't know what's going on with Sports Sunday, but that's
we are not on Christmas Eve.
Hey, just making sure. Just making sure.
I appreciate
We're doing Christmas Eve, so we're good to
better.
there. And then we're just talking about Vegas. Then I'm going to Vegas right after that. Saturday afternoon, evening, heading down to Vegas. Brother-in-law hosting Christmas.
Throw some dollar blackjack down for me, baby.
They don't do dollar blackjack anymore. Did I not tell you that casino was leveled?
Oh God, no! The last time I even found like $5 blackjack was at the Excalibur at 2 a.m, and this was right before, a month before the pandemic closed the world in 2020.
Yeah, chances are I will not make a single wager when I'm down there. We will go to the Strip, but only because we have reservations to hang out with Santa Claus and watch him swim with sharks. So that is the only time that we're going to go there.
Shark Week Christmas style, baby.
Well, we're going to the Shark Reef, and apparently Santa hangs out till about 4 o'clock. So we're going to show up around 3:30. And then Santa's exit, he just jumps in the shark tank and swims off. So
sounds kind of like a Universal Studios show that I would go see.
Sure, yeah. Sounds like a hoot.
I'm for it.
Sounds like a hoot. I did get a text on my phone, not through the Vancouver Ford text line. Vancouver Ford, where your dollar goes further. They treat you right before, during, and after the sale online at vancouverford.com. We're going to get cream corn updates. So I've got people identifying it. The last 2 days I've smelled cream corn as I passed over the I-5 bridge. So if you're driving in from Vancouver and you smell it and you have time, pull off, figure out what it is. A couple questions that have come in, just again in personal text. Could it be the urine smell from the bums?
Translating to cream corn.
Don't know. Depends on what you eat. And is it possible to make meth out of cream corn? I don't know. You get asparagus pea. I don't know if you can get cream corn pea.
Yeah, you got Sudafed. You combine that with some cream corn.
I don't know. There could be a new Walter White down there. I can't say with 100% certainty of any of that, but these are things that we'll check on throughout the show. Real quick before we get to the NBA, your opening segment for this show, if anybody missed it, what Schultze did was he spliced in Christmas movie clips with the voiceover from the great Vic Orlando.
Probably get it up, play it again if you need me to revisit it, unless it's too traumatic for you.
No. Well, here's what you did, and to tell me if my recap is incorrect, because you threw me off at the whole beginning of the show. I don't know where we went, but nepotism. Anyways, it's gonna be a weird show. That's what we're doing. So
going anywhere.
Yeah. So here's a question. You spliced in sound from the Santa Claus.
Yes, sir.
You did Christmas Story.
That is also correct.
And Jingle All the Way.
Boom! You nailed all three.
Is Jingle All the Way in the same category with those other 2 movies?
It's definitely a classic. It's not like
definitely a classic.
It's not the top 10 for people.
I'm
not.
Okay.
It's definitely. I would say.
I felt like it was shoehorned in there a little bit.
What? Why? It is a classic. It's got Sinbad. It's got Arnold Schwarzenegger. It takes you back to a time where we.
It's a classic. It's got Sinbad.
Yes.
Is your first argument for it being
I
it's
said
got
Arnold
Sinbad.
Schwarzenegger
Name another
and
Sinbad classic if you could.
Yeah, Rita
Arnold.
Wilson,
If you went
Phil
Arnold.
Hartman.
What's that?
Phil Hartman, Rita Wilson.
No. You started with Sinbad. Give me another
'cause he's the
Sinbad classic.
I don't know.
That's okay.
First Kid.
You could have went.
The one where
you could have went Arnold. I'm perfectly fine with that. You could have went Phil Hartman. I'd have been fine with that. You started with Sinbad.
I'm pretty sure he is the billed star along with Arnold on the cover of the movie.
That's perfectly fine. This again gives me the thought that maybe it doesn't belong in the same category. The Santa Claus. Now, I don't know how you feel about the Santa Claus.
It's one of my faves.
Okay. They have really wrung out that rag.
They have squeezed that lemon so dry.
Lord,
it's down to stone.
There is nothing left. Is there?
Yeah, I mean,
did they get picked up for another season of whatever that garbage is that my children are watching? Yeah. That is the series. And I like Tim Allen very much. And I actually the second one, the Mrs. Claus, I find, I don't know what the actress's name is. She's perfectly delightful, but the point
attractive,
the point that they're at now, where they're just making things up. I watched a couple episodes. My family went through it, but like they had it on in the background. Whew. That's a lot.
Yeah, it's if you don't know what we're talking about, the Disney Plus series Clauses, I believe, or the Santa Clauses, or it's some name associated with, it's in a continuation of the Santa Claus 3 movie franchise. First season of it, I would say it was okay. You could kind of see some of that Disney wokeness slipping in. It was like, okay, I'm not really watching. It's like, okay, these are elves, and I'm watching a Christmas movie, but no, remind me that we've all got to be equal here. Great. And then now season 2, the storyline has absolutely just jumped the shark, and you don't really care.
Didn't the whole thing jump the shark with Jack Frost?
Yeah, but at least Tim Allen was still involved in that storyline. Like, I feel like the new Santa Claus series is just Tim Allen as Santa Claus, more as like a side character that comes in, ho, 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 and then he walks out.
Yeah, it's the whole thing. So,
but I digress.
You're fine. Christmas Story is a classic. The original Santa Claus is a classic. I think it stands apart from, because the whole series got really wonky after that. I think the first 2 don't quite have the Disneyfication. Is that what you call it? The Disney wokeness that 3 through the series have.
Yeah, exactly.
Christmas Story classic. Like did you like the Christmas Story story? Or
yes,
Christmas Story Christmas?
A Christmas Story Christmas. Yes.
Quite good.
I loved it. I just had it on the other day when I came home.
They did a fine job. I do not put Jingle All the Way in that same category. That's my beef.
Let me just say that I did not know that putting a clip from a Christmas movie would be putting it in the same ilk as the other 2. I was just trying to find one of the funnier moments from Christmas cinema, and let me just say that it does throw us back to a time where we're not waiting for toys on Amazon to just show up a day before Christmas when we ordered it at the last second. That was impossible back in the 90s. We barely had cell phones, and we were looking at like Arnold Schwarzenegger driving around a mid-90s peak Suburban. That movie with Phil Hartman's comedy, it's not tops, but it's a comfort blanket for me.
There you go. That's perfectly fine. One of your favorites.
Yeah, and
it's not the same as being a classic.
It's not even in my top 10. Like, I would rank White Christmas with Bing Crosby and Danny F and K. Above.
Is that his middle name?
That's what Clark W. Griswold says it is.
And then you leave out Rosemary Clooney.
She was a dish. That woman was gorgeous back in the day.
The actors that you tend to hang your hat on, you go Michael Kay ahead of Rosemary Clooney, and you go Sinbad ahead of the entire cast of Jingle All the Way.
Clark Griswold quoted those 2, but what I was quoting Christmas Vacation. That's the only reason I did.
Fine. I'm still hung up on the Sinbad thing.
I get it.
Okay. All right. My wife hates Christmas Vacation, by the way, which is a classic.
It's one of my favorite. No, that's one of my.
That is a classic.
It's probably been watched 100 times in my house.
I understand.
Season.
I'm just telling you things that are true in my life. We will talk NBA, I promise. Ja Morant is back, which is fun. The Celtics have a very good rebut to them being, dismissed as a contender, and then the Clippers are unstoppable. So we will talk about all of those things in a NBA segment. But first, we need to do a SportsCenter update. Here, ladies and gentlemen, is Sinbad. Schultze.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
This update is brought to you by Laurelhurst Market Steakhouse and Butcher Shop. Their butchers are all trained chefs eager to help with cooking advice. Get to know your friendly neighborhood butcher online at laurelhurstmarket.com. First on The Fan, Week 16 of the NFL kicking off with Thursday Night Football tonight between the Rams and Saints. It's in Los Angeles. The Rams currently a 4-point favorite in that one. Kickoff set for 5:15 on Prime Video. In college football, Michigan receiving a notice from the NCAA regarding the alleged violations during staff by them during the COVID-19 dead period. Of course, this is why Harbaugh served a 3-game suspension, self-imposed, of course, earlier in the year. Among the accusations, though, in this notice, it's reported that head coach Jim Harbaugh did not coordinate with the investigations about the violations. The university now has 90 days to respond. Elsewhere, Oregon State and Washington State close to an agreement to join the West Coast Conference as affiliate members in men's and women's basketball, along with other sports. Both schools will reportedly be allowed to participate in tournaments and represent the WCC conference in the conference championships and NCAA championships events. In the association, the Blazers back at it tonight hosting the Washington Wizards. Shaedon Sharpe is going to be out, though, with a hip injury. Portland at home, 3.5-point favorites. Tip-off set for 7 p.m. on Root Sports. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schulte from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Get in the game at Spirit Mountain Casino. Watch and wager with our sportsbook powered by BetMGM. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
Daily Boost is the podcast for in-depth analysis on the sports betting landscape. Listen on Odyssey or wherever you get your podcasts.
We'll be back after the new year. Luke Anderson filling in with Schulte. Next week we'll have myself and the Swag when he returns from his Hawaiian trip. Not a vacation. Call him Pilots Games. All he's doing is game prep and game calls. I don't think he's going to get a Mai Tai. I don't think he'll see the beach. He's a gym rat. He's going to be in there every bit of every day. If he's not calling a game. He'll be watching a game. He's all business. So don't expect stories of fun and holiday cheer. No Meli Kaliki Maka for him.
From one of the best places in the world.
What's that?
Waikiki Beach. It is my heaven. And if you had to say, Jordan, like you got one last chance to go somewhere before you die, but it's one place, pick it, it would be Waikiki Beach for me.
It's hard to disagree. Love Waikiki Beach. It is one of those places. I was trying to describe this to somebody the other day. Waikiki is one of those places where it's a tourist trap. Yes, it is packed with other people, but everybody is there for one reason, and it is to relax. And it is a great environment. Last time we were there with the kids. We're just kind of hanging out. Somebody on their way out, they go, "Hey, we're headed off to the airport. We don't want to take all the stuff back with us." Gave us all the sandcastle making stuff and beach play stuff that you get at like the little shops or whatever. Handed it off to us, and so our kids got to play with it for day and a half or whatever before we left. We did the same thing when we left. Everybody is there to have a good time. I don't think I've ever showed up where there's been any hostility within 200 yards of me. It's a wonderful, wonderful place.
Beautiful people, amazing drinks, and good food. You can actually find stuff for cheap if you know where to go, too. So.
I don't know if I would put... I don't know if it'd be the last place I'd go before I die, but you know what? It's a wonderful place, and I do not have any criticism. It's probably where Sinbad would go and hang out.
Shut up.
What?
He told me that part was written for Wesley Snipes, by the way, so just throw that little factoid out there. I got to ask him when he was in town one time for a stand-up show.
Jingle Bell factoids. I've got them here for you. Also, reports on the cream corn smell. Vancouver Ford text line, 503 to-go fan. Somebody reported that it smells more like tomato soup with an LOL. Someone also suggesting that the cream corn smell is a brewery, and that's a smell of the fermenter.
Okay.
And I don't know if I've ever smelled. I've been in breweries. I don't think I've smelled that smell. I could be wrong. And maybe it's the combination of things, the tomato soup from Salty's mixing with the fermenter. I couldn't tell you. But we need more reports. So if you're driving in from Vancouver today, from the I-5 bridge through Delta Park, I smelled cream corn the last 2 days. Couldn't tell you why, trying to figure it out. So if you'd like to join the investigation, share your thoughts on the Vancouver Ford text line. So let's talk a little sports. It's 42 minutes into the show. We haven't talked any sports yet.
Yeah, let's get a little bit. It's my fault. It's not you. It's all Schulte.
I'm not worried about it. This is my favorite time of the year for sports. I do a lot of fill-in shows this time of year, which is always fun for me. But the NBA is starting to get interesting. The NFL is maddeningly interesting to me at this time of year. We'll probably spend the whole next hour talking NFL. Have you started paying attention to the NBA as a whole yet? Are you still kind of hoping that the Blazers are something, or trying to whittle down the pieces into a future and what you would do and who you would trade and what you would do?
It's hard to get into the Blazers at this point.
I know, but there's a lot of people that are trying to deconstruct and go, all right, these are the pieces that we want to have. Yeah. I've seen moments from Scoot where I think that you can see something. I think Shaden's really the future. I think it's probably time to trade Ant. Oh, we need to get rid of Malcolm Brogdon, that's for sure. Listen, I know that not a lot of people trying to sell you on this season. I don't think you're any different than that.
If you're asking me, what I think of them or the NBA in general.
No, have you taken the time to go, all right, let's ignore the Blazers. Let's pay attention to everything else.
Beyond Ant and Shaden being the future, and I don't think Scoot was a hit, and I think that was a mistake in Portland.
Okay, we can get into that later.
We can't. Beyond that, it's more so the Draymond Green story. I'm still looking at the storylines.
So you're not watching basketball yet?
I'm still watching some of the Natty games, so I caught some of the in-season tournament championship. It didn't really ruffle my skirt. I was one of the 4 million people or whatever that tuned in, so I've caught some of the big games so far this season. Yeah. But no, I'm still at the point where we're just getting off of the big part of college football. Obviously, for the Ducks anyways, we're going into the CFP still. That's huge for those 4 teams, not necessarily my fandom anymore. So I'm taking more time with my wife. I mean, if I were 20, I'd probably be watching every NBA game at this point in the season. But I think a lot of dudes out there with me, we still got stuff to do. There's a lot of Christmas planning going on. So I caught, even the Blazers 6 minutes of their game in the second quarter against the Phoenix Suns on Tuesday. so I might do the same tonight, and that means I also might catch a little bit of a Natty game on TNT as well. But that's been my extent.
No, hey, no worries. Last night was the first night that I really delved in. No Blazers on last night. My wife was over at a friend's house. Kids were in bed.
Nice.
So went national NBA game on NBA TV last night. Was the Sacramento Kings.
Okay.
Boston Celtics. Celtics on the back end of a back-to-back. So I put that on. And the nice thing about NBA TV, the broadcast was actually better than I thought it would be. Jamal Crawford was actually pretty good on it.
They actually do have some good talent. It's like those guys before TNT, ESPN. Yeah.
But they very much delve into like what are the big stories around the NBA. And every break, they're kind of teasing what they do. The halftime show is very informational. It's not as entertaining as TNT, but kind of got a lot of the storylines. So here's the tease, because I do want to talk about this. If you have not been paying attention, the comparison for what Joel Embiid is doing right now in the league goes back 50 years to a guy named Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And the only other guy that did it before him was a guy named Wilt Chamberlain. So that is what Joel Embiid is doing right now. So we will talk about what that is, and we will do it next. You're listening to Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
The college football portal's open.
Just the thing with like McClure.
No show tomorrow. And then we'll be back next week. I'll be back next week. Dirt and Sprague back after the new year. So just got sent this headline. Mentioned the cream corn smell coming over I-5. Don't know if this is related. Burning dead body found lying on a downtown Vancouver sidewalk. Police investigating.
I'm not laughing at the dead body. I'm
Yes,
laughing
you are.
that you smelled something.
Yes,
and then
you
reading this
are.
story.
Officers arrived in the area of 9th and Columbia Street around 3:23 a.m. after someone reported there was a body on the sidewalk that was on fire.
Oh my! Wow.
Police located a deceased man on the sidewalk with his, quote, upper torso on fire. The VPD says there is no evidence of foul play and the death is being investigated as accidental.
Ew.
So there you go. Somebody accidentally burnt themselves to death in downtown Vancouver. Don't know if that's a smell. Don't know if it's related. Just a headline that was sent to me, and I'm just trying to do my due diligence. Can't say for sure. We do need to get out of this segment on time because I need to try to book a campground in Alaska. Totally unrelated.
Priorities,
I know.
baby.
Listen, things are important. Here's what's going on with Joel Embiid, if you did not know. So last night, 51-12. In a win over the team that has the best record in the NBA. Sixers won 127-113 over the Minnesota Timberwolves. Did you know that the Timberwolves have the best record in the NBA, Mr. Schultz?
I actually did know that. I'm a huge not Anthony Simons. I love Ant, but this Ant before there was Anthony Simons.
He's Ant-Man. There's Anthony Simons is Ant.
And then this
Anthony
is
Edwards is Ant-Man.
Well, apparently I don't watch enough of those national games, but I do love the Timberwolves, and I'm in on them.
Best defense in basketball. Rudy Gobert, front runner for Defensive Player of the Year again. But they cannot stop Joel Embiid. They've got big guys all over the place. You would think that they're built to stop a guy just like this. They couldn't do it. But this is the 12th consecutive game that Joel Embiid has had 30 or more points and 10-plus rebounds. The NBA's longest streak since Kareem Abdul-Jabbar did it 16 straight games for the Milwaukee Bucks in the 71-72 season. Only other player to do it at least 12 times was Wilt Chamberlain, Elgin Baylor, and Walt Bellamy. All in the Hall of Fame. So the first guy in more than 50 years to do that. Joel Embiid tied a franchise record with his 5th consecutive game of 35 points or more, joining Wilt and Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson did it in 1997. Allen Iverson was awesome to watch. Not just was he awesome, but I don't know that there's more entertaining television that was out there. This is Embiid's 13th straight game with 30 or more points, the most by a player since former Sixers teammate James Harden did it in the 2018-19 season. Embiid has scored at least 40 points 10 times or more. With 10 rebounds or more in 3 straight games. Only Chamberlain was able to do such in the franchise history. Embiid has 7 career 50-point games, tying Dominique Wilkins for 15th of all time. And in December, Embiid is averaging 40.8 points, 12.3 rebounds, 5.3 assists, while shooting 60% from the field.
Are you asking me if I think that's great?
I'm just telling you that's great. I'm not asking you if that's
amazing.
great. I'm telling you that if you're not paying attention to Joel Embiid, he's mad.
Well, coming off of, he was in the top, I think, 3 or 4 for leading scorers in the entire NBA last season.
Yeah, he's leading the NBA right
now. And I think he's at just over 35 points a game this year. He's been absolutely nails. And every time I turn SportsCenter on, he's right there in the top 10, or at least the highlights shown before the top 10. They're always talking about Joel Embiid this year. And it's good coming off of an MVP season to really cement yourself as one of the great ones in the NBA. He's still only 29. I think this is kind of what people envisioned Anthony Davis being for 7 to 9 years in the NBA. We're getting it with Joel Embiid. Maybe not necessarily on the favorite team of America for the Philadelphia 76ers. Sorry, Philly fans, anyone's out there listening, I don't think people are tuning in to watch the Sixers. I think it would be much better if, he were able to be playing in Los Angeles, or a lot of people put him on the Knicks just because we need a big star in New York. But
I don't know if you know this. Philadelphia fans are rabid.
I'm not talking about Philly fans.
No, I understand that. And there's NBA. A lot of them. I know that. But the NBA, what they need is this. They need stars across the map. They like the fact that the Phoenix Suns are not good with Kevin Durant is good for the NBA because they'll be around at the end of the season. The fact that LeBron James won the in-season tournament is a nothing burger because what have they done since? What are they, 1-4, 1-3? The Indiana Pacers are 1-4, 1-3.
LeBron cares more about what's like going on with his kid than he does.
Yeah,
Lakers
well,
games, it seems like.
But at the end of the season, it will be an interesting story. But having Joel Embiid, having Nikola Jokic, having Giannis Antetokounmpo paired with Damian Lillard, having superstars in other cities makes the NBA more interesting. It doesn't get them ratings right now, but when you can get parity and go, man, there's 8 teams that can win the championship this year. The fact that Minnesota has the best record. I mentioned I watched the Celtics and Kings last night. Without Jason Tatum, they ran them out of the gym. They shot 56% from 3 last night. Peyton Pritchard was awesome. They had 5 guys score 20 for the Boston Celtics last night.
It was like over 140 points or something.
And no Tatum.
It was crazy.
And they're coming off a loss to the Warriors, who, I don't know if you remember this, the Warriors have been pretty good recently. So you have recent champions abound that I'd like to see get back. And don't forget that Miami is still entertaining and that you've got the teams on the rise like the Kings that are interesting. Having parity across the NBA is fantastic. And having 5 or 6 guys that could be the MVP every year makes it, to me, way more fascinating. Stay in Philadelphia. Bring that team a championship because I don't want it to be the Lakers every year. If he ends up in a Lakers uniform like Karl Malone, fine. But the idea that you have to be in Los Angeles to be interesting, because right now, the team that's winning a lot more didn't win the in-season tournament, but has won 9 straight is the Los Angeles Clippers. And I could make an argument that if you take out all of the double negatives where Paul George can't play in the playoffs and James Harden can't play in the playoffs and Kawhi's not healthy in the playoffs and Russell Westbrook is no good in the playoffs, those all cancel each other out. 4 negatives makes a positive, homie. They're going to be great. It's fascinating. I gotta go. I gotta book a campground.
I was gonna say
We'll get back to the NBA because I want to talk to you about the Blazers. Next hour, we're talking a lot of football though. The NFL. This is the best time of the year. There are 3 regular season games left. All of them are going to be great. Every single matchup across the board is going to be fantastic. So in hour 2, that's where we jump off. We have Thursday night football tonight in a very intriguing game. If you're a Seahawks fan, I will tell you why. Next, you're listening to Dirt and Sprague on a station called 1080 The Fan. That's right, Steinbrenner. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no dirt, there is no Sprague. Luke Anderson, Schulte filling in.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you. That was not a very Christmassy open, but
I can't go cut three.
That's fine. That's fine. I'm not criticizing you.
I know
you're
not.
so defensive.
No, I feel bad for the listeners. I know you weren't.
Don't feel bad for the listeners. You're going to sing to them at some point. Some
of them may not want that.
I don't care. It's going to be Christmas-tastic. I'll get y'all the lyric sheet to the Hawaiian 12 Days of Christmas. It'll be delightful. We'll start from 12 so we can go through. I will make utterances of shaka bra behind you the whole time. It'll be great. So we'll do that. You love Waikiki. I love Waikiki. It's good. We're learning stuff about each other. We're learning stuff about the audience. Somebody hates Joel Embiid. I read you his stats, and they said, call me when he plays through a foot injury. I get it. All I'm saying is I want parity and I want stories around the NBA, especially when my team terrible. But before I do that,
I does load management. Hopefully not this year, but it's like, and other stars don't play as much either, dude.
All right. Well, here's what I need to do before I get too far.
Did you get that trip booked?
Yes. This is here. Okay. I need to explain this to you. Don't need an 82-foot RV. So.
Luke Anderson is so in on sports this morning, everybody. We can tell.
You know what? You can sassafras me all you want. I'm the only one that's talked sports today. You threw in little anecdotes. You've been just as distracted as I am. What did you say yesterday when we talked briefly about what we were doing today?
That's like, dude, we can do Christmas, we can do sports. Like
you said, we can do whatever.
And we can do whatever. I am so like Souk last Friday. This is my last day before like Christmas, so I'm just out the door.
Okay, so. Here's what happens. Recreation.gov opens up the booking for campgrounds at the Russian River in Cooper's Landing, Alaska, exactly 6 months before the date that you're trying to book.
Oh.
So this is day 3 of me trying to book a campground at the Russian River. What happens is at exactly 7 a.m., 6 months to the day, you could go in and book the campground. Now, we're doing a 4-day trip. You can only book a 3-day campground, so we were never going to be able to book the whole thing in one fell swoop anyways.
Okay.
So what we've had to do is we took the next closest campground for day 1 and day 2 of the trip. Same thing happened last year. Secondary campground, just fine. But now on day 3 and 4, we were trying this morning. At exactly 7 a.m., you have to have in your cart ready to go the campground that you want, and you hit it. And within less than a minute, every campground is sold out.
I know how that goes.
On the entire site. Okay, so we synchronize watches across it. My brother is sitting in his house. My sister has her computer up. We have different logins for recreation.gov, and we're all trying to do it. And my sister-in-law, 2 years in a row, able to book the campground. She got a Site 39 at the Russian River. She is a hero. I do not use that word lightly. I don't toss it around, but she was able to book it. We now have a campsite at the Russian River for the 20th through the 21st of June, and it's gonna be fantastic. If only we had something in the system where we can make clapping noises for you. You could just push that button and we can do that. But you know what? How you want?
Don't know where it is. I'm not on the. I'm not on this page of drops.
You produce however you want to produce. But we got the campground booked. The Russian River, if you've never heard of it, is one of the more bananas places in the world.
There you go. A cheering crowd.
This is
for
you. Faye. No, not for me. Well, I didn't book it. I got the same message I always get. This is a popular site, and unfortunately, someone else has reserved it for those dates. There are plenty of other fantastic options available, though, so let's look for another location. That's the warning that I got, both on my laptop and my cell phone, because I was trying to book 2 sites at the same time. But the second the clock switched, and I even tried let's try it a second before, never works. It always comes up with the warning, you can't book this until 10 a.m. Eastern time, which is funny because on the site it goes, you're allowed to book it at 7 a.m. Pacific time, but then the warning comes back, tells you Eastern time.
That's so weird.
This may not matter to anybody else, but it matters a great deal to me.
It sounds like this is like buying Taylor Swift concert tickets. That's a challenge, and this also sounds like a challenge.
If I went to Taylor Swift and came back with 240 pounds of sockeye salmon fillets, it would be the same thing.
Hell yeah. My dad does the same thing every summer.
Yeah.
Every June.
So, The last year we came back. Do you know where he goes?
It's in I got to go look it up. It's in one of the kind of the little offshoot, very, very not oft-visited towns. Like the road is closed to this town during the winter. That's all I know. Same
thing. So we looked a couple years ago. We were trying to book a site and we weren't able to get the ones that we wanted, but we waited a few days after they were open. We ended up 20 miles away, but the closest cabin to it was only accessible by float plane or snowmobile.
Very Alaska.
Yeah, the booking options disappear and dwindle very, very quickly. Am I reading this text right on the Vancouver Ford text line? It says, Schulte as the only other Ram fan that listens daily, I better get a Thursday night football breakdown. Are you a Rams fan?
I am a diehard LA Rams fan. Everybody always gives me crap for it, but my dad grew up here on the West Coast with the Rams in Los Angeles. They moved off to St. Louis, and actually, the Rams are the only NFL team with a championship representing 3 cities, by the way.
3 cities? Do they have one for Anaheim?
No, they have one for the Cleveland Rams back, I believe, in the 40s or 50s. So that one's kind of the offshoot, like whatever, but it was technically an NFL championship. So they were like in the random part of the country at that point. Yeah. But yeah, St. Louis and then Los Angeles as well. But we can do a little Rams breakdown. I mean, I don't know. I'm just, Prime Video Thursday night football game.
That's fine. Listen, as I'm a Seahawks fan, I imagine there are more Seahawks fans than Rams fans listening right now. But with a gridlock at 7-7 to have 2 teams fighting for a wild card spot on a Thursday night, this is fantastic.
A lot of 7-7 teams.
Well, I mean, in the NFC, what are there, 4?
Yeah, I think.
Maybe there's 5 because who's leading the who's leading?
There were 5 or 6 still.
Who's leading the South right now? What's if only there were a way to pull up the standings for the NFL and make them available to us? It would be
in the NFC
just a real boon for us.
Yeah, we got 5 in the NFC: the Vikings, and then of course the Bucks and the Saints and the Rams, along with our Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, so not your Seattle Seahawks, your Rams.
Our Seattle Seahawks here on 1080 to the Fan.
Oh, don't give me that. If you're a fan, don't try to own the Seahawks.
Steelers and the Broncos also in the AFC are 7-7.
So right now in the wild card, so if you look at the playoff standings, so if the playoffs were to start today, your 7 teams that are in would be, of course, your division leaders. So you would have the San Francisco 49ers would be your 1 seed. Dallas Cowboys have leapfrogged the Philadelphia Eagles, who have already clinched a playoff spot. Tampa Bay is your leader at 7-7 in the division, because they have the tiebreaker over New Orleans. So those would be your 4 division winners. The Philadelphia Eagles are your first wildcard team. The Minnesota Vikings are your second, and the Los Angeles Rams your third. The 2 7-7 teams on the outside looking in are the Seattle Seahawks and the New Orleans Saints.
A lot of reasons to be excited about LA this year. I mean, honestly, the Saints are kind of, they are what they are. The David Carr, success one game.
David Carr?
Sorry. Wow. Freudian slip there. Derek Carr. I was just listening to a David Carr
How's that Freudian? Do you want to have sex with David Carr?
No, because I was just listening to a David Carr YouTube clip last night. So just saying Derek.
Freudian implies
it doesn't always have to, but I guess
think it does.
Okay, never mind. So yeah, maybe I just secretly think I do want to sleep with David Carr. So the Derek Carr, success one week and then the next week, even though he has a bunch of talent around him, they were thought to be way better than they actually are. I think the Rams can go in and beat them. They've had a lot of success in the past, I'd say 3 to 4 weeks, on and off. Obviously, the whole season, though. They're playing a lot of good football. I mean, 4 of the last 5 they've won, and Ernest Jones and Aaron Donald they are tanks to watch every week. So I'm excited about that. And obviously, what else do you need me to say as far as a preview goes? Matthew Stafford, who I think has thrown 12 touchdowns and 1 interception in last few games. He's on one, just like the Rams have been on one for the last 5. He's got the weapons of Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. So I don't know. What do you want me to say? That the Rams have much more talent overall on the offensive side and the defensive side. The Saints kind of compare with Los Angeles on the offensive offensive side as far as weapons go, but their quarterbacks at this point don't compare. Matthew Stafford's way better. The spread's 4. I say the Rams probably win by a touchdown, especially since they're at home, but it's the NFL, and who the hell knows? We got Christmas coming up, so all these, all this stuff could be on these guys' minds, like involving, who knows? Like they got stuff on the side. They got kids to buy gifts for. Like this is a busy time of year, so I bet you there's going to be at least 2 starters.
What just happened?
What?
That breakdown went but you know what? They have to buy presents for their kids, so who knows what's going to happen?
I am in the Christmas spirit, brother.
I suppose so.
Well, I'm thinking about my own life, trying to get like stuff sorted before the Christmas holiday on Monday, and millionaire or not, these guys got to do the same thing. So what I'm saying is there's probably a couple of starters that aren't going to be totally focused on either side. Like, this is a legitimate part of the breakdown, all right? Okay. So anything can happen.
Okay. These are professional. If college football, I would buy that. For the NFL, if these guys don't know how to focus because Christmas is coming.
You show up 110% focused to your job every day?
If Aaron Donald was trying to kill me, I would. Yeah, dude. When was the last time you were tackled at work?
That's not a fair comparison.
Our job is not a fair comparison to the NFL. That's what I'm saying. This is exactly my point. These guys show up every day with
they're not ready every single day.
No. But every Sunday, every Thursday night, they They are in the middle of a playoff hunt. If you can't knock Christmas out of your head, it's not even the Christmas day. You're like, he was going across the middle. Well, he must have been thinking about little Tommy and Susie back at home and what he's going to get for him. But I'll tell you what he's not going to get for him is he's not going to get them a coherent sentence, because that brain injury is going to be traumatic. Like, what? I was trying to think of a nice way to say that he's going to be drooling a lot, but most of them were very inappropriate. So
Travis Kelce's drooling because he's looking at Taylor Swift. See, that there's another one. He's probably thinking a lot about all the rumors about, maybe he's going to propose to Taylor Swift. What, have they known each other 3 months? Like, there's other things going on. Are they pros? Yes, I'm saying not every single one of the 11 on both sides is going to be 100% focused for tonight's game. And I bet you, if I talk to some insiders, not that I know any, I'd be right, because I'm just
the other Jordan Schultz.
The other Jordan Schultz has all the insider connections.
Yeah, have you reached out to him?
Oh, I did on Twitter.
Keep doing it. Just pick away until we can get the Jordan Schultz. Oh,
he ignored me. I think I got left on red.
You sent him one message.
At least 3.
Okay.
At least 3.
Make it 33, and then we'll talk. Ladies and gentlemen, I will bring you the schedules of these 5 teams in the NFC that I'll sit at 7-7, because this is where it gets interesting. The winner of tonight's game does not have a clear path to the playoffs, at least in my opinion. I will tell you who has the most inviting schedule, and if they end up not making the playoffs, it is all on them, but we will do that next. You're listening to a Luke and Schultze edition of a show called Dirt and Sprague. This is on 1080 The Fan and the Odyssey app. For Dirt and Sprague, filling in for Swag, we have Schultze. This show has been award-winning so far. If you've missed any part of it, first of all, shame on you. Second of all, don't fret. Service Patriots podcast on The Fan is available at 1080thefan.com, odyssey.com, in your local grocer's freezer. The Service Patriots are your home's comfort solution for all your heating and air conditioning needs. Check out the latest specials for our listeners only at servicepatriots.com/thefan. So you can go right there and check that out. Schultze is convinced that the football players in tonight's game will not be paying attention to football because they're too worried about Christmas. The holiday season is the most stressful time of the year.
Can we stop treating the entire roster of 53 players that like they're all getting 10, 20, $30 million a season? You go look at any NFL roster, there's a good chunk of guys making $750,000, like near the league minimum. Like there's literally half the team making almost no money.
Sure.
And
why are they playing, and why are some of the more talented guys coming out of college, these second, third, fourth round busts that had really great NFL grades, why are the guys on the field compared to the guys with equal talent that are not?
They're better, obviously.
It's not. They're not obviously better, because there are guys that make it in the league where you go, this guy is a can't miss prospect, and guess what happens? They miss.
I guess I'm kind of confused to what you're asking.
The focus is the difference. The difference between a guy like Puka Nacua, who was an afterthought.
I think that's just pure athletic ability, though, that's overlooked.
I don't disagree with that, but he is not the most talented wide receiver in the NFL. He is more focused than a lot of guys out there, and the reason that guys like that stand out. And the funny thing is, when Puka Nacua broke in week 1, week 2, week 3 of the NFL season, you look back at his resume, he leads the history of Utah in receptions at the high school level. He went to college where he did not play at Washington before he transferred back to BYU. So he was not just overlooked in the draft, he was overlooked in college and ended up at a second location. So guys like that have as much ability or near the ability of other guys, they make it through on focus. So what I'm saying is the guys that can show up week in and week out and perform because they don't get distracted by things like Christmas are going to have better success in the NFL. So if you come to me at the end of the game and your analysis is like, hey, we just weren't that focused. Everybody's really concerned about Christmas right this, what? I get out of the league.
No one's going to say that. I'm just trying.
You said that!
I'm saying that there's going to be a couple of people, because of the time of year on either team, that might not show up 100% focused. That could affect the game. That is all I said. I didn't even say it was a sure thing.
More likely to affect the game is this is a big moment. We absolutely need this. And if anything, the clenching or the efforting for things is going to be more likely. So here's the scenario that
teams only had 4 days to prepare anyways. The
Thursday night schedule, I think, is stupid. The way they cannot figure out how to set this up where it is a Thursday night coming off of a bye week or something where they can get proper rest. The best Thursday night game of the year, I think, would be hard to argue against, would be Seahawks losing to the Cowboys in the final moments.
Oh yeah.
What was the difference between that game and the other Thursday night games?
I mean, entertainment value.
They both played on Thanksgiving.
Oh, that's
so
fair.
they both had a full week rest. So you go in there and you have two teams fully prepared after waiting a full week to go and play those games, and it showed on the field. I mean, it was a shootout. Both teams played well. The decision not to block Micah Parsons on the final play of the game when you need to pick up a 4th and 9 is the dumbest decision. Probably not a decision, but the dumbest oversight that I've ever seen.
Let's leave DJ Dallas to deal with Micah Parsons.
He didn't even try to block it.
No,
he just turfed it. Nobody picked up number 11.
But that was the only guy within 4 yards of him was DJ Dallas.
Whatever their plan was on that play, it was the poorest execution of a plan. And if their plan was to leave a free rusher who might be the fastest defensive player we've seen since LT, probably a bad idea.
Yeah, you can't really identify the open guy if it's Micah Parsons coming at you.
Yeah, you do not have time to react to that.
Oh my God.
A lot of guys that you don't want to leave unblocked. That guy might be number 1 on the list. Might be.
I mean, like all time or this year?
Certainly playing right now.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
no, he's probably one of the top 3, other than T.J. Watt. Yeah, no, there's a couple guys.
Yeah, you don't want. Anyways, leave him as a free runner. So let's reset the conversation. There are 5 7-7 teams, include the Seattle Seahawks, and both teams playing tonight on Thursday Night Football. I wanted to give you the schedules looking ahead, and I will start with what I think is the least consequential but the most interesting. So the Minnesota Vikings are a team where I've talked to Vikings fans. We have one here in the building who works in our accounting department who is kind of an insane person, where immediately upon losing Kirk Cousins, well, let's just take the whole season.
Whoa.
Yeah. Of course, he kind of thought that before they lost Kirk Cousins. Let's just take the whole season.
I mean, that's fair. It wasn't really a great outlook for them past game 3.
Sure, but where do they sit right now? They sit right in the thick of the wild card hunt. Here is a schedule remaining for the Minnesota Vikings. Now, this is a pet peeve of mine that works out pretty well because I look at the schedule every year, and the difficulty that the NFL schedule has in separating division opponents. You play everyone in your division twice. Mm-hmm. Why would you have to play them twice in 3 weeks?
See, it seems like the schedule is always lined up perfectly. Like they play one opponent, that's really good from the opposite conference along with that. And then the other like adjacent conferences, they kind of go a rotating schedule every 2 or 3 years. So they have all this planned out, but yet you still throw your division opponents 2 in the next 3 weeks. What the hell are you doing?
I totally agree with that. But sometimes it works out. Here is the final 3 games for the Minnesota Vikings. Hosting the Detroit Lions this weekend, hosting the Green Bay Packers next weekend, and at the Lions to finish it out. That feels like at least one loss.
At least.
At least. At the very minimum, one loss, right? I think we can all agree to that, yes? So
you think the Lions could beat them twice?
Well, yeah, I don't think there's any question about that. But if you're a team that wants to control their own destiny, you only need them to lose once, right? So if you're one of these 7-7 teams and you can win out, then you have free run to the playoffs, right? So it's kind of up to you. Now, the division leader right now is in the NFC South is Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They are at 7-7. They play this weekend on Christmas Eve. They play the Jacksonville Jaguars, followed by the New Orleans Saints, who are playing tonight in a matchup of 7-7 teams. They finish with the Panthers. That is probably going to be a matchup next weekend for your division winner. Absolutely. That's the way it looks to me, and that may be regardless. I don't know how the tiebreaker works out, but it feels like that will be a matchup for the division. So you can assume that the schedule is pretty easy to understand then for the New Orleans Saints. They are going to play the Rams tonight, Buccaneers on New Year's Eve, and then they finish with the Falcons. So they've got 2 division opponents to go up against there. So right there, Bucs or Saints are both losing at least one game. One of those 2 teams is losing 1 game. And we know the Rams are losing 1 game because they are playing tonight against the Saints. So the Saints or Rams will lose this game. Yes, yeah. The Buccaneers or Rams. So that one of those teams is not getting out unscathed.
It is a tasty combo.
Twice. Now, your Rams' final run of the schedule, Saints tonight, Giants on New Year's Eve, and on the 7th, they finish their season against the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, a little tougher finish for them.
And they have a division that is out of reach, but the 49ers are still playing for that number 1 overall seed. Yeah. And with 1 bye week, that makes things very interesting. So you've got the Cowboys and the Eagles still there within striking distance. So if they can get close, there's no excuse for the 49ers not to show up for the final game of the season. Yeah. But if they have it locked up, could be very different. Here's your schedule for the Seattle Seahawks. This is your 5th and final team that is at 7-7 right now. And I'm not saying they will win all these games, but if you are a Seahawks fan and they cannot win all these games, they don't belong in the playoffs. This is my opinion. Now, they can still make it with a loss, and tiebreakers get funky, and I know there's a lot of things, and you can count 2 losses on the Vikings schedule. You probably count 2 losses on the Saints schedule. So I'm not saying they can't make it with a loss, but they control their own destiny as far as I can tell, if I'm reading all the tea leaves correctly. They play at the Titans. They host the Steelers, and they finish at the Cardinals.
Ooh, I mean, the Titans is going to be a wild card because, like, Will Levis could throw for 4 touchdowns. He could throw for 3 interceptions.
I understand that. But if you want to be a playoff team, I'm not saying you have to, and I'm not saying that they'll go and wreak havoc. But if you want to be in the playoffs and you control your own destiny, you've got 3 weeks of playoff football, the way I look at it. Okay. You should be able to win all those games if you are a playoff team.
Well, the fact that I'm a little concerned that the Seahawks could just, kind of lay an egg and not show up, play earlier in the season like they did.
Birds lay eggs.
That's true, but like when they've been bad this season, they've had no success in the red zone. And thankfully they've been able to turn that around, but mostly with their backup quarterback, with Drew Lock with that great win, So I think the Seahawks fans obviously still like Geno Smith, thank you for what you did. We're kind of searching for our quarterback here in Seattle now. Like, we don't really have quite the answer. He's okay. He's not great. And even if it is Geno Smith under center, I'm still questioning whether or not they're going to beat the Titans. Titans defense is okay. Yeah. But Geno Smith, even with the weapons, it's like that they don't succeed when they need to succeed. That's what good teams do in the NFL. Well, but it's just the stupidest breakdown ever. It's like, well, with really good players, they don't do it in the red zone. And
the Tennessee Titans are 5-9.
Really
so even if their defense is what you say it is, which I mean, this is a team that has been erratic, and they have started multiple quarterbacks, and that's multiple quarterbacks named Will Levis, to your point. But again, if you want to be a playoff team right now, there is no better path of the 7-7 teams in the NFC than the path that the Seahawks have ahead of them. I mean, you would agree with that at least?
Yes, I would agree.
You've already played your 2 games against the Rams. You've already played your 2 games against the 49ers. You did not have success in those games. So you're 0-4 in those matchups right there. You've only lost 3 other games. The Rams are a much better team than I think a lot of people expected. They lost to them on the opening game, and they lost to them a second time at home on the road. So the 49ers are probably the best team, and the Monday night game, we will find out if they are the best team in the NFL when they take on the Baltimore Ravens. So you have a clash of the 2 number 1 seeds. Mm-hmm. But I think the 49ers are probably the best team in football right now. So losing twice to them. But that's 4 of your losses if you're the Seattle Seahawks. So you can call them erratic. The loss on Thursday Night Football to the Cowboys isn't necessarily a terrible loss. What they need to do is just they need to go out and impose their will right now. If you're playing against a 5-9 Tennessee Titans team, you should win that. The Steelers are 7-7 somehow, but you should be able at home to win that game. And the Cardinals are playing for nothing. You should be able to win those 3 games if you are a playoff team. If you lose those games, you're not a playoff team. And if you don't make it,
fair.
I wouldn't worry about it. That's my assessment on this. But nobody has a clearer path to the playoffs than the Seattle Seahawks. We'll see what they do with it. Pete Carroll has been very successful when his back's against the wall. Let's say playing the division or the division leading Philadelphia Eagles with a backup quarterback on a rainy Monday night when your game got moved to Monday night. They found a way to win. And so I don't know if you start Drew Lock. I don't know if you start Geno Smith if he's healthy. To be quite honest, Geno Smith has been good in pressure situations. So I'm fine with either guy. But I think you get a good run up to go, these games will show you what they have in reserve. And I'm actually more concerned about their defense. And what their defense did against Philadelphia was a lot more impressive than what Drew Lock did.
Absolutely.
And they don't get enough credit.
I mean, they gave up, almost 30 points to the Panthers earlier in the year.
Earlier in the year, yes, they did.
Well, but my point is 2 of their 7 wins were against cupcakes in Carolina. I think
2 of 7, though.
But that's 5 wins. That's 5 wins if they don't win those cupcake games with the Commanders and Panthers on your schedule. It makes it a lot easier for you. I would argue that only beating the Cardinals 20-10 earlier in the year, looking at their schedule, it's like, once again, kind of goes to the point, you guys, you should be a lot better with this talent. And the Titans, once again, their defense is a mystery, man. They're decent. They give up a lot of yards, but they don't give up a lot of touchdowns. And that's where Seattle struggled this year.
Well, listen, if they go in and lose to Tennessee, they had a good year with, not a great quarterback. The thing is, you say that they have talent all over the place. They do. They do not have a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback. They do not have a Matthew Stafford who's playing out of his friggin' mind. But they have the same caliber of quarterback that Minnesota, the Saints, Baker Mayfield in Tampa are rolling out there. So 3 of the other 4 teams at 7-7 also don't have their quarterback situation figured out. You're telling me that you're putting Josh Dobbs, Derek Carr, and Baker Mayfield in the same category as Matthew Stafford?
Yes,
they're a lot closer to what's going on with Drew Lock and Geno Smith than they are what's going on with Matthew
Tommy
Stafford.
DeVito, yeah.
Well, but Tommy DeVito's not in the playoff race right now.
Sorry, just backup quarterbacks in general having success. There's been a lot of them this year in the NFL.
But there's a lot of mediocre teams, and there always are. The great teams are playing with weapons at every position. The reason the 49ers and the Ravens are the top 2 teams in their respective conferences, they have great quarterbacks with great talent around them.
Loaded, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and great defenses on the other side of the ball. So it should be fun. This stretch of the NFL is going to be fantastic. That, sir, is my point.
Well, I'm planting my booty at Christmas night. What could be a possible Super Bowl preview matchup between the Ravens and Niners? Yeah,
well, it starts tonight, man. Tonight is a de facto playoff game, so the atmosphere should be electric. And with all the guys, concerned about Christmas shopping, anything can happen.
Well, I don't know what the odds are on a Puka Nacua anytime touchdown tonight, but maybe you throw your money down on that, baby. Woo!
Puka, let's go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not 100% sure where we're going next. I've got a few NFL scraps laying around, so we may just continue with the National Football League. But first, before we do any of that, SportsCenter update. Here's Schulte.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by Laurelhurst Market Steakhouse and Butcher Shop. Their butchers are all trained chefs eager to help with cooking advice. Get to know your friendly neighborhood butcher online at laurelhurstmarket.com. First on The Fan, Week 16 of the NFL kicking off with Thursday night football between the Rams and Saints in Los Angeles tonight. The Rams currently 4-point favorites. Kickoff going to be set for 5:15 on Prime Video. Moving to college football, Michigan has received a notice from the NCAA regarding alleged violations by staff during the COVID-19 dead period. This is part of why Coach Harbaugh served a 3-game suspension self-imposed during the first 3 games of the 2023 season. Among the accusations, it's reported that Coach Harbaugh did not cooperate with the investigations about violations. The university has 90 days to respond. Elsewhere, Oregon State and Washington State are close to an agreement to join the West Coast Conference as affiliate members in men's and women's basketball, along with other sports. Both schools will reportedly be allowed to participate in tournaments and represent the conference at WCC and NCAA championship events. In the association, the Portland Trail Blazers back at it tonight, hosting the Washington Wizards. No Shaedon Sharpe, though, out with a hip injury. Portland 3.5-point favorites. Tip-off is at 7 p.m. on Root Sports. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schulte from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Get in the game at Spirit Mountain Casino. Watch and wager with our sportsbook powered by BetMGM. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
Do it every morning. Dirt and Sprague. Weekdays 6 to 9 a.m.
Patsy and Elmo? Is that right?
That is correct. Please tell me that you've seen the TV special based on the song.
I may have seen it.
It's awesome. I just watched it the other night.
Yeah, I mean, it's no Jingle All the Way. Is Sinbad in it?
You're a jerk, dude.
I'm a jerk.
No, nobody we know is in it.
Am I being a little too harsh on you today, Schultz?
You're not.
I'm all fired up. I got my campground, going salmon fishing. That's a big day. I got most of my Christmas presents are all wrapped, ready to go. Man, I'm on it this year.
But you can't handle my love for Jingle All the Way. So yeah, you're a jerk.
Well, no. All I said was Jingle All the Way is not in the same league as the Santa Claus or Christmas Story. That's all I said.
I would agree. I just didn't think that putting a sound clip of it next to those movies made it in the same league.
I understand that you didn't think of that. That's why I had to point it out for you.
Well, there you go.
So I'm just sharing what other people think. When you put them together, it feels like you are giving them all equal value. Of all the Christmas movies you could have chosen, to choose those three to pair together insinuates that they all rest in the same category.
Well, thank God this is my last day before Christmas, because I'm like Souk last Friday, halfway out the door. I'm like, all right, you know what? My brain just ain't working anymore. I'm not doing things right. I'm not saying things right. I need a break.
In fairness, saying things and doing things very difficult. Very difficult to do. Same time,
right?
Yeah. Oh, could you imagine trying to do that at the same time? I've got some leftover NFL stories. I don't know how much you guys talked about Aaron Rodgers in the last week. It's probably exhausting.
A little bit, but I think that they hate him so much, as do I. I think we spent like one segment on it. So we can talk a little bit more about the self-serving A-Rod if you want.
We don't need to do that.
Like some dumb uncle.
What I'm curious about is I'd like to meet the guy that got cut because they took Aaron Rodgers off the IR. This is all I'm asking. What I want to hear from is the 53rd man on the roster who was released because they wanted to get Aaron Rodgers out there to practice. They've said, so if you're not familiar with the story, Aaron Rodgers has been taken off of the injured reserve, meaning he's eligible to play, but everyone associated, including Aaron Rodgers, has said he is not going to play. But this allows him to practice with the team.
Why?
So I could not tell you. So what I would like to know is who on the Jets, who are mathematically eliminated from the playoffs already, was cut and no longer has a job today because Aaron Rodgers is back, baby. That's what I would like to know. That's my only question. Can we get that guy? Try to get that guy on the phone. If we can get him in the last hour, we'll talk to him. All right. Speaking of the AFC East, are you aware of the controversy that is now surrounding the New England Patriots?
I think I know what you're talking about. Yes, I do.
So
2.0 sauce.
According to multiple sources, NFL officials didn't properly inflate the kicking balls at Gillette Stadium before the Patriots matchup against the Chiefs.
So this was the officials. This was because now the game balls.
But this is in New England.
All the game balls are in the hands of the officials much sooner than they were when this original Deflategate. God, this was like 7, 8, 9 years ago now happened. So now it's on the officials? What the hell's going on?
Well, two missed kicks. The kicking balls were not properly inflated for this.
What? How not properly inflated? I think.
I don't know.
I think the story said.
Well, yeah.
Your balls are. Yeah. Here we go. We're talking about the balls that are supposed to be ready for game play are supposed to be up to, I believe, like 13.5 psi. And if I remember correctly, the story said one was only at 12, the other was right around 11. So they were underinflated.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Here's the thing. Nobody cares why? Because the Patriots are terrible. So it won't matter. And it does say it's the officials. It does not say that this is Bill Belichick out there doing it again. But that's kind of where we sit with that. I did want to bring that up because it's hilarious.
Deflategate 2.0. I mean, I thought that I was having a little deja vu when I read that headline. It's like, are we still doing this? But it didn't just affect the Chiefs. It sounds like on this side, like we should point out, it affected the alleged balls were for both sides affected a kick of both of the kickers.
And Vancouver Ford text line, all texts on the fan are brought to you by the Vancouver Ford text line. Your dollar goes further at Vancouver Ford. They treat you right before, during, and after the sale online at vancouverford.com. Somebody points out Butler missed his first and only kick of the year in that game.
Ooh, see, I didn't realize that. I didn't know he was perfect all season.
Yeah, and you know what? He probably is going to miss his bonus now because his percentage will be below 100.
Well, the Chiefs are so nice. Things. Andy Reid will pay him. Right. They will.
Did you hear Nick Sirianni's explanation of what they were trying to do on the play where the interception was made to end the game in Seattle on Monday night?
I think I heard it, but I want to let you fulfill the tease.
Nick Sirianni's explanation that the Eagles were playing for a pass interference on the game on the play that resulted in the interception that lost them the game. How do you feel, young man, about the idea? Get
the flag thrown?
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm a head coach, I am trying to gain any advantage I can. All right?
You're a dirty dirtbag.
No, because I'm also the guy that I hate. Deflategate, for instance, can't stand that kind of crap. Spygate, that stuff really irks my craw. The whole sign stealing scandal, I think the Houston Astros are trash. But
I thought you were going to say Michigan Wolverines.
Well, I digress. We can talk more about Coach Harbaugh going into the 8 o'clock hour. But I guess when you're talking about from that position, there are available options to you to win a game. And in one instance, a penalty can save you. There's so many drives that happen every single game where, oh my God, look, 70-yard drive. This team's going to score. They're marching down the field, holding twice in a row, which theoretically I feel like you could call on almost every play in the NFL. So I don't mind if you're talking like, well, you know, we thought we had a coach ready to go to kind of see what the other team was doing, but he was sick this week, so we couldn't get that leg up on them like we normally do. No, that's not this. This is simply trying to use what's available to you during the game, which penalties. Yes, I like that you're hoping for that, but to play only for that, I think that's that's kind of short-sighted.
Well, I don't know that it was only for that. I mean, obviously,
you're bringing it up.
If you complete the pass, which you can do, you don't accept the penalty. The one thing that I would change in the NFL immediately, if you gave me any sort of power, would be eliminating the automatic first down penalties. Pass interference, defensive holding, any of those things that result in an automatic first down in those situations, especially a spot foul, make it a 15-yard penalty. I don't care. But on a 4th and 26 or something, you should never have an automatic first down. And I realize that we want to keep the offense out there as much as we can, but you still get to play another 4th down. But that's one thing that I would eliminate. So unfortunately, I think it's an NFL problem. If guys are playing for that, it's because the penalty is too valuable not to.
Refs suck anyways.
Well, I'm always surprised when you go back into slow-mo and you show how often the refs are right.
It's true, but there's been a lot of
I'm a nice person
miscalls.
And you're not.
There's been so many missed calls this year. You go back even to 2022. The referees are missing more and more and more, or just to keep the game flow going, like they're just not going to call one. Like Dak Prescott getting hit helmet first last week. It's like, what? That's not a targeting penalty. Okay, I get. All right.
I can't say that I've looked at it to see if there's any truth to what you're saying right now, and going and seeing if there's any review of it. But on a week in and week out basis, there is always a few calls where you watch it in full speed, and then they put it in the super slow-mo and you're like, son of a bitch, they were right.
It's tough.
It's an insanely difficult job, and I'm surprised constantly by how often they are correct. So, did you want to talk about Jim Harbaugh?
Oh, let's.
We've got a short segment. We got a short little segment here.
Let's open up a can of Jim Harbaugh.
Next, I'm going to take the next segment off. Jordan Schultze is going to open a can of Jim Harbaugh whoop-ass, and he's going to do it next. Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Who's stinking it up?
Woo! Do not go in there.
It's time for Who's Stinking It Up, a sports lowlight that's ripped from the headlines.
We couldn't do diddly poo.
Brought to you by Three Mountains Plumbing. Schedule your appointment online at threemountainsplumbing.com.
was leaning on Bridges, so Bridges couldn't get up and go running.
And the Euro moved by Rozier. He has his first point second half. He's got 21.
That was Terry Rozier for the losing Charlotte Hornets last night. They got absolutely trounced by the Pacers, 144-113. Rozier, their leading scorer, 25 points on 26 shots, Luke. 10 of 26. That is a bad night when you have to shoot more than the points that you actually scored, especially when you get into the 20s.
Yeah, well, you play on a team where some of your players aren't allowed into Canada. The Charlotte Hornets, not exactly the model franchise. I did the little bounce around earlier of teams that are interesting. You will notice the Charlotte Hornets absent from that. Who's sticking it up? The Charlotte Hornets, like always, brought to you by Three Mountains Plumbing. They make plumbing and electrical services delightful. Get your time back and let the pros tackle whatever projects you need completed. Schedule an appointment online at Three Mountains Plumbing. That's threemountainsplumbing.com. Call it Dirt and Sprague. There is no dirt. There is no Sprague. Only Schultze and me, Luke Anderson. It's very exciting.
Happy holidays.
You tuned into the right day. Happy holidays to you. Have you decided, are you doing the Hawaiian 12 Days of Christmas or Mele Kalikimaka when you sing later?
I mean, if you want me to sing and it's only Hawaiian choices, it's Mele Kalikimaka.
Okay, we will get Mele Kalikimaka from Jordan Schultz a little bit later, but right now he has promised to open a can of whoop-ass on Jim Harbaugh.
I mean, it's kind of more so the NCAA opening a can of whoop ass on Jim Harbaugh.
I thought you were going to trounce him. He's a cheater, and he's a no-good, rotten scoundrel, and he's getting what he deserves. Now, Michigan undefeated and playing in the college football playoff, so obviously the penalties have hard-standing implications. He was out for, 7 games this year, and they won them all. So, yeah.
And still being rumored as a leading candidate for the Los Angeles Chargers head coaching job in the NFL. So.
Oh, well, Bill Belichick's going to be fired. Maybe he moves to the left coast.
Saw those as well.
Yeah.
I mean, Coach Harbaugh, essentially, if you're not privy on this news, they have received, the University of Michigan anyways, receiving a notice of allegations from the NCAA regarding alleged violations by the football staff during the COVID-19 recruiting dead period. This was according to a couple of university officials. So essentially, Coach Jim Harbaugh receives a level 1 violation for, this is allegedly, that's what the story says, according to Adam Rittenberg from ESPN, allegedly not cooperating with or misleading NCAA investigators about violations, and also some lesser violations. It looks like Michigan is going to be facing level 2 violations. 4 of those, they are considered impactful, but not nearly as much. The 3-game suspension that Harbaugh imposed on himself back in August. Also, along with the 1-game suspension for offensive coordinator Sharon Moore, the guy at the end of the year that was the interim head coach or the fill-in, saying like, "We love you, coach. This is for you. This is for the players. We love you." Yeah. Anyways, so this is all coming back around from the beginning of the season. Coach Harbaugh trying to get out of any penalty by self-imposing.
So what is a level 1? What is a level 2 penalty? What does that actually mean?
I'm not quite sure. I'm not privy on NCAA like violation levels, but I do know that like level 1 violations are suspendable. Usually like these are not necessarily like things that can remove you from a job unless you have like a big collection of them. Is
Michigan going to be eligible for the playoff next year?
Next year? Yeah. Possibly not, but I'm not sure that matters.
Yeah.
It sounds like they don't care about the rules. We've known this, but even during COVID, recruiting happened when it shouldn't have. They've been trying to steal signs. Obviously, on sidelines they shouldn't be.
You said in the last segment that cheating of any kind really irks your craw, I believe was the exact term.
Ruffles my skirt, irks my craw, absolutely.
Yeah, okay. So because you and I have not talked about this directly, where do you sit with the Michigan Wolverines right now? If they were to win a national championship this season, would you put them on the same level as the 2017 Astros or the Deflategate Patriots or the Spygate Patriots or the any other season Patriots?
I'm usually a very strong reactor to this, and I hate the University of Michigan for essentially getting caught red-handed here with the whole Connor Stallions bit and looking for other school signs. However, the Big Ten did something very unprecedented, Luke, and that was in the middle of the season where the conference says the violations happened and actually affected the results possibly of this season. The Big Ten stepped in and did something, and that usually doesn't happen in the middle of something going on or something that a team is being accused of doing. So I kind of had to step back at that point and be like, you know what? Hey, it sounds like the conference left it to these other schools, Ohio State, Penn State. Hey, those were the 2 best schools remaining on Michigan's schedule. We're leaving you the keys here. If you want to say that, hey, Michigan shouldn't be here, we're leaving it up to you. We're taking Coach Harbaugh off the sideline. Does that make a huge difference? Not necessarily, but at least it shows that the conference is trying to do something, and that's obviously only the conference. It's still, outside of the NCAA's purview, and we're now seeing that, well, the NCAA, Michigan is still facing 2 investigations, and obviously this one with the earlier suspension that Coach Harbaugh served. Now, I mean, they were already having to respond with the 90-day waiting period for the second set of allegations. They have now got another thing to respond to in another 90 days. So no, they probably won't be in the playoff this next season in 2025. But
Harbaugh might be long gone before.
Yeah, but I do think that this was handled by the conference. So I'm just not as mad as I normally would be about that.
Okay. Well, I hate to tell you this, but I don't care about cheating. Cheat all you want. Go nuts. As long as the game's entertaining.
You know what? You really are a jerk,
I know,
Luke.
Oh, I know. I'm not going to argue with you.
No, I love you, bro. I'm kidding.
You're all good.
Sometimes your sports takes just they ruffle my skirt.
That's what I'm here for. If we got along with everything, it'd be a pretty dull show, wouldn't it?
Blazers suck. Yeah. All right. Next segment.
Speaking of Blazers suck, I do. In hour 2, I want to get to the Blazers. We had the early recruiting period results yesterday, but I did not hear anybody give the rankings of the transfer portal results. Might be interesting to those Oregon fans out there because they are one of 2 teams that falls into a elite group for making their football teams better. So we'll talk about that. You and I have not discussed the new home of basketball for the Oregon State Beavers and the Washington State Cougars.
It's a
to
tasty
me,
story.
I think it's a very intelligent decision that they have made. So we will discuss that and more in hour 2 of Dirt and Sprague, or hour 3.
I was like, what?
Hour 3.
I am extending my day.
Well, here's my barometer for how a show is going, Mr. Schultz. If it feels like time is flying by, we're doing all right. So if I did not realize that we're going into hour 3, that means so far so good, homie. We will do hour 3 of Dirt and Sprague. Next, this is 1080 The Fan.
PG Long has been the Northwest flooring experts for more than 50 years, and now they are the preferred distributor of FIBO wallpaper.
That cough, is that what got him? So you mentioned it in the SportsCenter update. You had an interesting reaction when I brought up the idea that the WCC move by Oregon State and Washington State, I think, is fantastic. I think it's a brilliant move. And I think it was really the best option that was out there at this time for them. But your reaction did not seem like that's your opinion. Well, so what I'd like to do is hear your thoughts on it before I dive into mine.
The WCC, obviously, I mean, we're looking at prestige here for conferences. I would say that they are a little below the Mountain West, or are they on the same level? No,
they're definitely not on the same level. So, so they joined for non-football and baseball. On a basketball level, they're far superior. Are you kidding me? Gonzaga is one of the, they feel like a blue blood. Over the last 25 years, Gonzaga has been one of the best college basketball programs in the country. St. Mary's has been very good. Who's the best basketball school in the Mountain West?
Like the Zags, right?
No, the Zags are in the West Coast Conference.
Oh, sorry.
So there you go.
Boise State. Like I don't really know who the Mountain West has. Like as far as like New Mexico State.
Yeah. So nobody.
So the West Coast Conference, I mean, and this shows how little I follow college basketball until we get to the tournament every year. The West Coast Conference obviously has a few more prestigious opponents for the Beavers and Cougars to play than the Mountain West.
So what they've done is, instead of joining a conference that has football, so the West Coast Conference does not play football. Gonzaga, University of Portland, Pepperdine do not have football teams, so this allows them to keep an independent schedule. Now, this is not a new idea. This is a blueprint followed by another team that just joined one of the Power 5 conferences that was always on the outside looking in, and that's BYU. BYU decided to join the West Coast Conference so that they would have the opportunity to get into the NCAA tournament in basketball and go out there and play an independent football schedule while being in a conference for their other sports. It's the West Coast Conference. They're not playing in the ACC like Stanford and Cal, which for their basketball season is going to be insane and bizarre in every fashion. And I don't know if you know this, but the ACC is very good at basketball, top to bottom. So it's going to be hard for Cal or Stanford.
North Carolina's in there, aren't they?
And Duke.
And Duke.
And yes.
Well, the whole state of North Carolina, really.
You can go down the entire list. There's another team called Virginia that's been very good in basketball that is in the ACC that has a championship to their title. They also have a 16-1 loss to their credit. But I digress. The West Coast Conference has a very top-heavy basketball conference led by Gonzaga, but they also have the ability to put multiple teams into the tournament. So you have the ability to go in there, and if you have a very good season, if you finish second to Gonzaga, the tournament committee, selection committee is going to look at it and go, oh yeah, no problem. You guys had a great season. Sure, you didn't beat Gonzaga, but here's your invitation. Come on out. So I think from that standpoint, very smart what they did there. Playing an independent football schedule, way more valuable, especially if they can hang on to that Pac-12 money that is out there.
Of course.
Playing an independent schedule is going to be way more valuable over the next couple of years than playing a Mountain West schedule. Because what's going to happen if you play in the Mountain West is you're going to be forgotten. And if you take your percentage of the West Coast Conference cut, I'm sorry, not the West Coast Conference, the Mountain West Conference cut, you're going to just slide further and further away from what is happening in the major conferences. So what this does, in my mind, is gives them a 2-year window to go, all right, here's our audition tape. We'll take all comers. We will go out and we will play every team that wants to play us, and we will show you that we belong in the Power 5. That's what they're doing in the next couple of years, is going down the BYU path and going, hey, we're good enough. We belong here. We don't accept the offers that are out there to be in a non-Power 5 conference because that's where we belong. We'll go and play our basketball, play our Olympic sports on the West Coast, which is going to save them money. It's going to keep them in the spotlight for basketball. And they're going to play an independent baseball schedule, which is probably more of an Oregon State decision than a Washington State decision. Mm-hmm. But they get to keep their prestigious baseball program playing whoever they want, whenever they want, which is smart.
I hear you. I like the move, the way that you describe it. I guess seeing all this news, it kind of just makes me wonder why Oregon State hasn't tried to put more money into the basketball team. I understand they don't have all kinds of like extra, funds, but you think with NIL, like they would, try to be throwing a couple mil at like a big recruit to try. They're not going to have the same success and growth as the Beavers football team did under Jonathan Smith, but Corvallis's program is growing. At least it was in the national minds. And facing Gonzaga, that's a good thing for them. However, I'm not sure they're equipped to face Gonzaga, unfortunately.
Well, no,
they're going to be blown out of the water.
But they don't have to be.
Okay.
So the way that Oregon State has been in basketball, it's kind of similar how they've been in football over the years, is you have to go and get guys that are 3 stars, an occasional 4-star guy, 2-star guys, develop them, and when it all clicks, what was it, 2 years removed from an Elite Eight, or 3 years removed, and then the following season they had an absolute turd burger. But that's what happens is you go in cycles. They are not a team and a program that is going to reload like Gonzaga does, like Oregon does, like the Carolina schools do. You don't always have the luxury of being John Calipari and going, well, I've got 4 of the top 5 recruits in the country coming in, so we've got a chance for one season to be on top, and then the next year go, well, we've got 4 of the top 5 recruits and we've got 1 year with these guys, so let's see if we can finish on top. Not everybody gets to do that. Oregon State is one of those teams that is going to rebuild every couple of years. And when they get a team that gels just right, you got a chance to make a little bit of a run. And if it happens in the next 2 years, the West Coast Conference allows them to do that. The Mountain West Conference does not. You have to win the Mountain West to get into the tournament, and you're not playing against stiff enough competition where you're going to be tested along the way. That's at least the way that I look at it. And from where I sit, I think it was the best option that they had. I'm so glad they're not going to the ACC. That's ridiculous.
That would be terrible.
If I was a Cal fan and I wanted to go to some of their games, they're playing across the country, I would be miserable with that idea.
It is going to be.
And if you're North Carolina and you have to go and play a home game or a road game at Cal and at Stanford, that's bizarre too.
Yeah, just stay there for the week. Play.
Well,
I'm sure that
they will probably will schedule it that way. And I know there's enough Tar Heel fans that are everywhere that you'll have some on the West Coast that'll be like, that's great. We're going to go down and watch both games. That'll be fine. But for teams that don't travel as well in the ACC, it's just bizarre. So for me, I think that they made lemonade out of lemons with this, and that's all that you can do. Hopefully, they're able to follow in the footsteps that BYU has laid out, and one of these major conferences will go, there is value in Corvallis, there is value in Pullman, and they can add those football teams to their conference, because I think that's the long-term solution. I don't think they're Notre Dame, where they can hold on to an independent schedule for the rest of their existence, but for right now, I think it's the right move.
You know what, going into next year, any positivity for these programs, like I need to see. Yep. So if there's a chance that they could have some success on the national level with this move, I'm all for it. And you know what, you're right. Comparing the teams in the Mountain West to the WAC is, there's really no comparison. So I don't really see any benefit to them joining the Mountain West for basketball. But if they joined it, they would want them for football. The Mountain West would want them for football, and they would have to join. They're already playing a Mountain West heavy schedule next year because they don't have time to schedule out these teams. Of course not. But in 2025, if they can go out and put together a legit independent schedule, it'd be a ton of fun to watch. And what would be great is this allows them, because they're running an independent schedule, get on the phone with Oregon right now. Yeah.
And put that back on the schedule.
Well, and obviously
get the Apple Cup and get the Civil War, and don't pretend that we need to give it another name, because nobody's come up with a name. Get the Civil War and get the Apple Cup back on the schedule.
Obviously, the big difference too between the Mountain West deal that the Beavers made in football along with the Cougars, as opposed to this.
I don't think they signed anything. That's just what their schedule is going to be next year.
But the I'm just sorry. I'm talking about the agreement. Whatever they signed, didn't sign, put in place. The agreement for football does not allow the Beavers to get in anything as a Mountain West team. However, and maybe this actually applies more in college basketball, but this agreement with the WCC allows the Beavers and Cougars to represent them in the NCAA championships, as you pointed out. Any kind of tournament where the WAC is going to be represented, the Beavers can have that on their uniform and say, hey, we're technically from the WAC, even if we're just like an affiliate opponent, which that's huge. And frankly, like, with the expanded playoff, like Oregon State and football does need to get into a conference. And we're all hoping to see that. But this in basketball at least ensures their future and their ability to participate in championship events.
Two things on the Vancouver Ford text line. San Diego State just made a run to the Final Four. Still not saying that they're a power conference for basketball, but just fine. The other thing that is brought up is in the Stanford-Cal agreement. They're going to SMU to meet in the middle for road games and home games.
Stop it.
Yeah.
SMU is going to be like the Turnpike gas station.
Yep.
Stop it.
Yeah. Well, see you in Dallas. Cool.
No.
What a mess. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, what we're going to do next is up to Jordan Schultz. One topic will make him angry. One topic will make him happy. Which one do you want to do? Happy or sad, my friend? Happy or sad?
Give me salty. Give me salty.
Let's get salty. We'll talk Blazers next. Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
The Herd with Colin
Sprague. Everybody gets the day off tomorrow, at least on this program. Saturday, regular Sinner and Saint, myself, Will Darkins, will both be here on the 23rd. And then, 27th, 28th, 29th, I will be in the studio here with Jason Swigard doing our imitation of the morning show. So that's the programming notes, at least for this program. We have a ongoing story that we've been discussing today, mostly with the text line, since you are not driving in from Vancouver, Mr. Schultze. But if you smell cream corn on the bridge, we were looking for theories or investigative reporters to figure out what that cream corn smell is coming over I-5 into Delta Park. I smelled it the last 2 days, and it's weird. So if you have any information on that, please share via the Vancouver Ford text line. And somebody on the text line did say earlier, how do you know what cream corn smells like? It's a very weird story. I will tell you very quickly. My brother passed away this year, but he was fighting cancer for a long time. Cancer did not get him, but he passed away all the same. But when he was going through a cancer treatment in, I want to say 2018 maybe, one of the side effects was he smelled like cream corn because of the treatment that he got. Now, to make it worse for him, all he could taste or smell, regardless of whether or not he was emitting the odor, was cream corn. So he hated it to no end. But that is how I know what cream corn smells like, is my brother smelled like cream corn for a full week. It was awful. But you don't stop visiting somebody just because they reek of cream corn.
Of course not, but that's a weird thought.
I'm just telling you how I know. So I'm not saying that I'm an expert on cream corn, but I smelled it and I was like, oh.
It's a weird thought driving down the bridge and it's like,
trust me,
connection
I know. This is why it's so compelling to me. So if you're driving in from Vancouver and if you smell cream corn, share. The smell may have gone away. I don't know. Smelled it yesterday morning. Confirmed it this morning. So that is where we are with that. You have chosen I gave you a choose your own adventure, and you have chosen the path of salty.
I'm a pretty salty Blazers fan, or I guess you could say a very waning Blazers fan. My fandom is very small.
The Portland Trail Blazers are in a rebuild. There have been calls for years that they needed to go full tank mode and go into a rebuilding session. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what it looks like when you're rebuilding. It's time to fire the coach. You have to trade that guy. Why isn't the team any good? Why is Joe Cronin even the GM? You can get as mad as you want. I don't know specifically what you're mad about, Schultze, but I would like to hear it. Is this different than what you expected from this Blazers team is the first question I will ask you.
Absolutely not. I didn't expect them to win more than 23, 24 games this season.
On pace for that.
I'm mad that they're in this position in the first place. I'm still sorry, folks. Yes, I'm hung up on Joe Cronin telling everybody we're going to go all in. We're going to go so all in that you're going to be offended at the last trade deadline from 2023. Now you translate to the end of the season where they tell Damian Lillard, hey, Dame, we love you. We want to put this talent around you, so we need you to sit down for us. We need you to sit down so we can get the best chance at Victor Wembanyama and this number 1 overall pick that could be the greatest player to ever come to the NBA. We need you to give us the chance to get that for you. He does. Plays the game. At least their game, and not playing the game for the Blazers at the beginning of the year and just sits. So then they get the 3rd pick. They draft his replacement. I mean, it boggles my mind that, and obviously they're a professional organization, that they are about the money. They're about profits. They're not necessarily about what every single player or the best player on their roster wants. But it's odd when you tell someone, hey, no, we're going to build around you. And then all of a sudden, this option that you got because he helped you do what you wanted to do becomes a much smarter plan to just jettison everything and build around this number 3 player. And you know what? I said it yesterday to Dirt and Sprague off the air. I'll say it today. I think, Scoot, and I was this way when he got drafted. It's not like I'm watching these 20 games and basing the performance of him on that. I think he's going to be a bust. You look very, very similarly at him compared to way back when. I believe this was the 4th overall pick in the 98-99 draft-ish, right before 2000. That is one former Blazer and Antonio Daniels. Look at their body types, y'all. They're what, 6'3", 6'4", very stocky, wide-shouldered. They're fast. They can pass the ball. They have the ability to drive to the hoop. Neither of them can shoot. And everybody's been saying, oh, Scoot Henderson has this ability, guys. He can get to the hoop. He can pass. And the shooting is, if it gets there, he's going to be a transcendent talent. And we gave up on one of the top 100 players in the history of the NBA to move on for that. And I've heard so many players on the text, or so many people on the text line say, hey, guess what, Jordan? Teams move on from players all the time. Get over it. You don't move on from the best of the best unless you've already succeeded with that. Tom Brady won how many championships before he left New England? You don't. Good teams don't move on from that anyways.
So you just made Damian Lillard Tom Brady.
No, I'm saying that they don't move on from players unless, like, good teams don't, unless they've already had some semblance of success.
What?
They didn't build around him, and they said, Dame, it's your fault we got to the Western Conference Finals and no further. We're done with you.
Yeah. I don't know that was necessarily the narrative. But
it wasn't the narrative, but it's being put all on him.
Hey,
on him.
Listen, how people hate the Blazers to me is always fascinating.
Well, there you go.
That's your rant. You are, I think, one of the rarities that thought that they moved on from Dame too soon. I think a lot of people thought they moved on from him too late. But there's so many variables in these things. Scoot being a bust, time will tell. Building around Scoot, time will tell. Right now, it feels like Shaedon Sharpe has as much potential as anybody. Anthony Simons is a very talented player. There is a lot of debate whether or not he is the guy to build around. On our show every Saturday, Will Darkins insists that it is time to fire Chauncey Billups already, whether or not he is the guy to move on from. There are a lot of reasons not to like this team, and I totally understand them. But at the same time, that's what you need is time. You need to sit back and just wait. You knew that they were going to be terrible. Here's a fun thing to try, Blazers fans. Watch some other games. There are plenty of other teams in this league that are in the same scenario that you are. Question for you. Would you rather be a Portland Trail Blazers fan right now or a Detroit Pistons fan? Trade you your Blazers fandom for fandom of the Charlotte Hornets. You want to jump on, how about, Indiana Pacers. They just played for the in-tournament championship. Would you like to be a Pacers fan right now?
Actually, I'm Team Kevin Pritchard, so yes. Okay. Yes, I would. No, I am Team KP all the way. So that's a bad question to ask me.
Well, did KP win a championship here in Portland?
He should have. Paul Allen.
Blaming Paul Allen.
There was a big personality issue. He fired Kevin Pritchard and then said, hey, you need to stick around and draft for this team that you're no longer employed by.
Well,
my God.
You can choose your allegiances where you like. The fun thing about sports, and the thing that I will love till the end of time about it, is it's unscripted. We don't know what is going to happen. Victor Wembanyama was the most NBA-ready 19-year-old that we've ever seen, right? We would have been taken, draft experts suggest that he would have been taken over LeBron James had they been in the same draft. He is 7'4". He is the unicorn.
A stud.
How many wins do they have?
I think they actually lost 16 or 17 in a row as well.
They have 4 wins.
Yeah, they're in long losing streak.
They have
also
4 wins right now. Now, is anybody in San Antonio panicking? Probably. I don't know. But the majority of them are going, well, just give us time. We've still got the guy. Now, I still am concerned when you're 7'4" about injuries and the whatnot that come inherent with that. But it takes time for guys to figure out the NBA. And when you're 6'3" and broad-shouldered and whatever the other descriptors that you use for Scoot Henderson.
I said that he's broad-shouldered, he's strong, He's got great passing abilities, he's fast, he's obviously got court vision, and he can get to the hoop. However,
he has all of that at 19 years old,
but
though.
He can't shoot. And
I understand.
If he can't ever shoot, then none of that matters.
I understand. If he can't ever shoot, you're 100% correct.
I don't even see the basis of a good form there, though. That's the problem. I mean, we can get further into it. I've seen some of the breakdowns, off the ball compared to getting, compared to trying to just shoot off the dribble. There's many things that we could just dive into, but nah.
Time will tell. Time will tell who is right and who is wrong. I am not taking sides at this point because I feel like making these predictions just makes us all dumber. That's just the way I look at it.
Eyes glazed over.
But right now, looking at what the Blazers have, is they have potential. Is that potential going to be realized? Who knows? It's the same thing I say about Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City won, 18 more games than they did the previous year? Last season from the season before.
Yeah.
And right now they're sitting in the top half of the Western Conference, and they look like a good team. Now, they've got some issues off the court that we don't need to dive into, but I said that I'm not going to buy into them until they actually do something. The Sacramento Kings did something last year with their almost 20-game improvement. The Oklahoma City Thunder got into the play-in tournament and did not make the actual playoffs. Do they have potential? Yes. They have tons of potential. And I like a lot of the pieces that they have. Are they a good basketball team? Time will tell, because it's going to be hard to pay everybody all at the same time. There are a lot of very strategic moves. There's a lot of luck involved, both with how personalities line up, how injuries line up, and whether or not you ever get a chance to play for a championship. Here's what I do know about the NBA. The easiest way to get to the finals in the NBA is to have been there before. If you go back and look at the way the NBA shakes out, you see a lot of teams that have been there in recent years going back. Once you figure out how to win and you get that recipe, you hold on to it longer than any other sport. Any other major sport by far. The NBA has way more repeat champions and way more repeat appearances. So if you're watching the NBA and you wanted to say that the finals is going to be the Warriors and the Celtics, doesn't look very good right now, but would you be surprised if Steph Curry rallied the troops one more time and did it? Because I wouldn't. It's just a lot of things can happen.
Nope.
That's you being sad.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Get me happy.
We're not going to get into the draft the recruiting rankings in depth. We're not going to rank every position group and do all of that. Speaking of another thing that time will tell. But what I did not hear yesterday in all the listening that I did and all the radio stations that I listened to, I did not hear anybody tell me who won the transfer portal, because there are more than one way to build a college football team. So what I want to do is bring to you not only the recruiting rankings for anybody that missed it, but the transfer portal signing rankings, because I do find those to be slightly interesting, and how it affects your Oregon Ducks might be interesting to you, Mr. Schultz. Before we do that, I will let you bring us a SportsCenter update, and thank you in advance.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by Toro Mexican Kitchen. Treat yourself to Baja Mexico with delicious regional dishes and cocktails. Book your table today at ToroPDX.com. First on The Fan, Week 16 of the NFL getting going tonight. Thursday night football between the Rams and Saints in Los Angeles. The Rams currently 4-point favorites. Kickoff set for 5:15 on Prime Video. In college football, Michigan has received notice from the NCAA regarding alleged violations by staff during the COVID-19 dead period. This is about Coach Harbaugh's connections with possible recruits during that time himself, and the whole Hamburger Gate story. This is what this is about. Among the accusations reported that Coach Harbaugh did not cooperate with the investigation. The university now has 90 days to respond. Elsewhere, Oregon State and Washington State close to an agreement to join the West Coast Conference as affiliate members in men's and women's basketball, along with other sports. Both schools will be reportedly allowed to participate in tournaments and represent the conference in WCC and NCAA championship events. And in the association, the Trailblazers back at it tonight, hosting the Washington Wizards. No Shaedon Sharpe. He's out with a hip injury. Portland, though, a 3.5-point favorite. Tip off at 7 p.m. on Root Sports. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schulte from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Get in the game at Spirit Mountain Casino. Watch and wager with our sportsbook powered by BetMGM. Learn more at SpiritMountain.com.
The home of prime time with Isaac and Sue. Weekdays 3 to 7, 1080 The Fan.
Sponsored by Indeed.com. You don't need a job platform. You need a hiring partner. Indeed lets you schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from one place. Start at Indeed.
brag about my parenting, but the fact that my kids love this song is one of my prouder moments. Why Dominic the Donkey?
Love
this
this song.
kiddos. It's a classic.
Absolutely.
It's Sinbad's favorite.
Oh, stop it. Go back and listen to the Service Patriots podcast if you want to know what we're talking about there. But yeah, Dominic the Donkey, one of my favorite Christmas songs of all time.
Well, there you go. Nothing wrong with that.
Well, there's an adult that makes a ee-aw sound in it, so that's, I think that's the funniest part.
I think though it's just one of those things where you showed up to record a song and all the elements worked out perfectly, and there it is. You get the right version of the right Christmas song, and it can bring your holiday thing together, your season together. The thing is, we've got a new version you're about to hear of Mele Kalikimaka that may be your favorite. It will be live. Jordan Schultz. That's how we'll wrap up the show. Before we do that, I've thrown a lot of bad news at you, but you are wearing your Oregon shirt, so I wanted to bring you some good news. One of the things that I did not hear, and they do now because of the transfer portal's immense power in college football.
Huge.
We do have the rankings for the transfer portal. So I don't know if you're familiar with where your teams showed up on that.
Lay it on me. I am not.
So yesterday, the big news is the Oregon Ducks. Everybody excited here for the home of the Ducks. Depending on which ranking system you look at, I'm looking at 24/7 Sports has Oregon rated number 6 overall in recruiting so far. Which is fantastic. If you're an Oregon State fan, 112th on 24/7. Not great, Bob. So I wanted to bring some hope to those Oregon State fans. So I went and checked the transfer portal, which, let's be honest, is where they've made their money. So I went and took a look at the transfer portal for them. 31st for your Oregon State Beavers in the transfer portal. This is what you need to do. You go and you get college football ready players, getting a bunch of kids. I mean, we just talked about the NBA getting 19-year-olds or may not be at the maturity or the basketball IQ level to go in and make an impact right away. Certainly in college football, bringing an 18-year-old that is not fully grown into their, into their body, into their position, the difference between a high school and a college playbook. There's a lot of reasons why you don't just walk in and succeed, and that's why it's so rare when it actually works that we all get super excited about it. So going for college-ready players is probably the best move for Oregon State. But here's what I noticed that was interesting on the ranking list is Oregon sits at number 11 on the list. So the only team that I see in the top 15 in both recruiting and the transfer portal, other than Oregon, is Notre Dame. It's a pretty good company to be in. So looking at it, I mean, obviously Georgia's at the top of the recruiting rankings, Alabama, Miami, Ohio State, Texas. But if you look at the transfer portal, it's a very different crop of teams. Number 1, care to guess?
Georgia, Alabama. I mean,
for the transfer portal?
Yeah, still.
No,
yeah.
I just told you that the only 2 teams in the top 15 on both lists are Oregon and Notre Dame. So we know that Alabama and Georgia do not play in this pool.
Okay, then.
So use your big sports brain, Schultze.
LSU, would they be on the list?
The number 1 team with 16 commits from the transfer portal. Home of the Buffs, University of Colorado,
what?
Coach Prime using it. Another coach that just signed an extension is on the list at number 2, Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. Number 3 is Louisville, TCU, South Carolina Gamecocks. So you can see it's a very different list when you go through that.
Sounds random, yeah.
Not necessarily random, but
it's South Carolina Gamecocks. That just kind of throws.
As far as the transfer portal, people transferring into the SEC or transferring around the SEC. Texas Tech is in there, North Carolina State, Arizona State in the transfer portal game with Kenny Dillingham, Kentucky, Houston. But it is not the blue bloods that are making up that list, I suppose, is my point.
Okay.
So going out there and get these recruits. Another team that is in the top 20 but not in the top 20 in recruiting is Washington, using the transfer portal as well. So at least in the what used to be the Pac-12, I guess now I got used to saying Big Ten for those schools. How stupid is that?
I'm never going to get used to this. Like
No.
Big 10, Big 12,
No, it's
SEC. We all better just go to like one big old 64 team, 4 conference Super League or something like that in college football. It's just going that way, it seems like.
If there was any
Then I
actual
won't have to think about any of
if
that.
there was any actual leadership in the NCAA, you could just call it college football, but that's something that we're going to fail at.
Chip Kelly's idea is tops.
I don't know his idea specifically.
Basically, what I just stated. He was on talking about it was before the bowl game that he played in last week. They only won by 3, so pretty funny to see UCLA kind of slip by. I can't remember who they were playing. It was the Starco Brands LA Bowl, I believe.
Was it Liberty? Oh no, wait.
No, that's Oregon. Unfortunately, the worst bowl draw of bowl season. But Chip Kelly said that all of the conferences need to stay intact except for football. Like, so UCLA's basketball team should be playing Arizona State, should be playing Cal, should be playing Stanford, Oregon, should stay in the Pac-12. Outside of football, every single conference should remain as it's been, and all the regional matchups basically stay alive. And his idea beyond that for football is what I just stated: do a massive 64 team, 3 or 4 conference Super League for basically turn it into an NFL times 2 league, because 64 teams, that size
good
anyways.
Math. I like it.
And then you've got all kinds of different conference matchups in those 4, super team conferences that you can intermingle and plan.
Do you know the formula the NFL uses to create their schedules?
I kind of said a little bit of it last year, last hour. But as far as like year to year goes, I know that as far as rotating divisions within your conference, you play an opponent based on their record the last year. You have to guaranteed have 2 matchups against every single one of your in-division opponents, so that makes up half of your schedule. You also play, I think, a really good team.
6 games, but yeah.
6 games. You also play a really good team from
No, okay, so here's
the AFC or NFC.
I'll run you how it works.
Opposite your conference.
You play your own conference, you play a division within you play your own division. Okay. You play a division within your own conference that matches the rest of your division. You play a division in the opposite conference that matches everybody else's schedule in your division.
Okay.
You play the team that finished in the same position within your conference in each division that you do not play. So if the Seahawks finish second in the NFC West, they play the team that finished second in the NFC South, North, or East, depending on whichever conference they don't play.
Exactly.
And now with the 17th game, they play one of the conferences in the opposite conference. They play one of the division opponents that finished in the same spot. So not all of their games, but 3 of their games are ranked, where all of their other games are common among their division. What college football needs to do is scrap the conferences and take that 64 team and have a weighted schedule. That's what they need to do. So that's the next move. We need to get to something very, very important, though. We're going to finish the show. This is your last show of the year or last show before Christmas?
Last show before Christmas.
Ladies and gentlemen, when we come back,
next week,
Schultze will be singing Mele Kaliki Maka. Go nowhere! Keep it on. 1080 The Fan.
Your brain is an amazing thing, but as you
Ladies and gentlemen, the golden pipes of Schultze.
Mele Kalikimaka is the thing to say on a bright Hawaiian Christmas day. That's the island greeting that we send to you from the land where palm trees sway. Here we know that Christmas will be green and bright. The sun will shine by day and all the stars at night. Mele Kalikimaka is Hawaii's way to say Merry Christmas. Merry, Merry, Merry Christmas to you.
To you.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Very good. Yes, give yourself a round of applause. Push the button. Push the button.
Okay, I'll push the button.
There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, Jordan Schultze sings much better than I do. I did not hear the results of your sing-off with Patrick Harris. How'd that go?
I won, I think, 60%-ish.
There you go. Nice work. Nice work. Want to thank you for joining me. This is Jordan Schultz's last show before Christmas. Is it the last one of the year? Are you back next week at all?
I think 1 or 2 days. Cool. But Merry Christmas. This has been awesome.
Absolutely.
Love all of you listeners out there as well.
I will be on Saturday. We'll do a regular Sinner and Saint on Saturday morning if that is your favorite show, which should be on 1080 The Fan.
Hell yeah.
Also next week doing a couple shows with Swag, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Dirt and Sprague will be back at the beginning of the year. Thanks again, Schultz. Thank you everyone for listening. Everybody have a very, very Merry Christmas. A very, very Merry Christmas to you. Thanks, guys.
A merry little Christmas.
I'm Trisha Crick with BetQL. Only one team in all of college basketball is covering the spread over 90% of their games this year. Number 1, Purdue? Psh,